This is the Patriots Pregame Show, fueled by Duncan.
He's throwing it toward Thornton, left corner of the end zone, caught! Touchdown New England!
The Patriots Pregame Show is your source for all the news and information before every game.
He took it to the house! Again!
Here we
and
go!
The Patriots take the lead!
With Matt Smith, Mike Dussault, Paul Perillo, and Tamara Brown.
And the Patriots have won their 6th Super Bowl title.
Patriots Nation, welcome to the Patriots Pregame Show, fueled by Duncan.
And good afternoon. Oh, maybe a microphone would be better there. Here, hi, Mike. Good afternoon, everybody. Week 15 in the National Football League. Refreshed, ready, amped up, ready to go, coming off the bye. It's a Patriots Pregame Social, fueled by Duncan. Matt Smith with Paul Perillo to my left, Mike Dussault and Tamara Brown to my right. We're the New England Patriots, 3-10, losers of 3 in a row. Traveled to the desert in Arizona to take on the 6-7 Arizona Cardinals, also losers of 3 in a row. 2 games behind and on the periphery of a playoff game, a must-win for Arizona. You think this is a must-play hard and look good in doing so game for the Patriots. Is that a good way to characterize it?
I think so. I mean, that's what we heard from them this week, getting a week off and a chance to reset. A lot of the guys talked about going back and looking at their previous performances and finding things that they need to do individually to improve here on the final 4 games. And I mean, even watching a little of the AFC North Hard Knocks this week, some teams in similar positions, Cleveland, saying this is about everybody's watching you. Like, it's not just about this team, it's also about your future opportunities. So I think the Patriots are in that boat as well with some of their guys that, who wants to prove they're going to stick around, they're going to be part of this thing going forward. And I think we're all, very interested to see the young guys, Cole Strange, who gets increased opportunities.
It's not ever been a question of effort. I don't think anybody sees here. But, Tamara, you're in the locker room a lot and talking to players frequently. Do you get the sense, as what Mike just said, that they're aware that the world is watching, and whether it's the Patriots where their future lies or another team where the future lies, that they understand that these games are important? There's no such thing as a meaningless game.
Absolutely. I think Devon Godchaux says it well every single week. He's like, we get paid to do this. This is our job. We get paid to do our job well. So they always talk about playing for the name on the back of their jersey, playing for the name on their helmet, and that never stops despite what your record is. You can't just hang up your cleats. So it sounds like all of them are all in for, taking these last 4 games seriously and not just hanging it up because they're not going to the playoffs.
Paul, I'm going to crush this person if this factoid is incorrect, but I was told a factoid today that the Arizona Cardinals have defeated 31 National Football League teams in Glendale, Arizona. There's only one they haven't defeated.
I have no idea if that's true. I can't.
My number one son gave me that little factoid today, and I will crush him if he's wrong. I didn't fact check him,
I'm going to take it as gospel then if it came from that source. I know the Patriots haven't lost. There.
They lost one game that I recall. There was one game.
I don't remember that game. I blocked that one out. That's
but it wasn't against the Cardinals.
Haven't lost to the Cardinals.
Right.
2008, 7. Where was I? No,
right.
I don't
that
feel
22 game, the last time they played there was kind of a tractor pull. The Monday night game, wasn't it?
When Kyler Murray got hurt
Kyler
3 plays in.
tore his ACL in the first series, and I stopped watching.
Right.
Well, that's just great.
A little scoop and score by Raekwon McMillan, correct?
That was just great,
boy.
Paul. Thanks for doing the post-game show for us. Yeah, it was the game. DeAndre Hopkins had the ball like this. Remember, he had the ball out like this. He's running, and then there's like, that's my bad when I fumbled. What would you think was going to happen? He's like carrying the ball like it was nuclear waste. Like, take this from me, somebody, please.
Paul, you said something earlier in the week where you thought that this game looked different to you than it might have been a couple weeks ago because where Arizona is in the scheme of things, having lost 3 in a row. Expand on that, if you would, please.
Well, they're in a free fall, and they haven't played well in a while, and this is kind of the MO for the Cardinals, and it's been different coaching staffs, some different personnel, but this sort of Kyler Murray iteration of the Cardinals has tended to drop off dramatically down the stretch, and it looks like they're doing the same thing.
Yeah.
I mentioned at the top they are in the periphery of the playoff race. They're 6-7, 2 games behind the Rams and the Sea Puppies. And so it means something to them, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Oh no, absolutely
Absolutely.
means something. I just think they're playing poorly.
Yeah,
That's all.
I think that's why it's the immovable force versus that old cliche that are they going to be able to turn it around at home? Usually, I would default to a team that needs a win and is still in the playoff conversation. More likely, they have a little bit of the edge, especially at home.
Intangibles.
Yeah, so that's something that the Patriots have to be aware of, that they're going to have to counter. They've been off for a couple weeks, so they just had a long flight 2 days ago. Are they rusty? I mean, it's the kind of thing I think the Patriots need a good start today to put some doubt in the mind of the Cardinals and maybe start to let them work against themselves a little bit, and that might be a route to victory for the Pats.
Also, I feel like the Patriots have been like everybody's get-right game as of lately, and I just for once want them to not let the team get right and have a great rest of the season, but maybe snatch one away from the Cardinals today who think this is their get-right game.
And they've got such opportunity here over the 4 games. And, I mean, I know they're out of the playoff race, but this is a team that needs the win. You've got the Chargers in a couple weeks. I mean, Buffalo is scrambling up atop the AFC. So it's more than just about wanting to see the current Patriots players and see Drake May continue to progress over his bye week and see, how they've kind of tweaked things a little bit maybe for him. It's more than that. I think it's more about, hey, you've got a chance to ruin some team seasons. I go back to that, Miami game back in 2019 when I was here with Ryan Fitzpatrick coming in. They had nothing to play for, and, they ended up really hurting the Patriots with that win. So
yeah, good one, Mike.
It's something that some teams do that, what does it mean in the grand scheme of things? I'm not sure, but to show some fight, I think that would buy, Gerard Mayo a little bit of credit, a little bit of more buy-in from the guys here down the end.
Those two comments by Tamara and Mike, I think, leads us perfectly into the keys to the game.
You've waited all week for it.
The whole team's in the locker room right now just listening to this, waiting to hear what you're going to say.
Here are the Patriots pregame socials, keys to the game.
And only because I'm the host, allegedly, I'm going to lead off with this. Not because it's a prescient or anything like that, but I think, Mike, I just stand by something that you said 6 weeks ago, 8 weeks ago, and to me it just rings so true. And my key is be a pain in the neck. You termed it being a pain in the ass. I think we're okay with saying that on this program here. Pain in the butt. I just want to see, show me some vinegar and some you-know-what out of this team. I'm not advocating violence, but if you want to get into a scrap, that's fine. Show me you care. Again, I don't question the effort, but show me some things that go, wow, they're being a real pain in the neck to play. They're making it hard on the Cardinals here. That's when I see, when we, unfortunately, the last thing in our minds is the 97 play drive that the Colts took, to go down and win the game. You'd like to see something a little bit different than that. That's what I mean. You'd be a pain in the neck.
Yeah.
And there's 1,000 different ways to show that in every phase of the game. Show me that you're a pain in the neck. Run the ball down their throat if you can do that. Be the more physical team on the offense. Take it to dictate terms instead of having terms dictated to you. That's what I'd like to see.
I like it, man. I like it on the defensive side of the ball too this week. We heard from DeMarcus Covington, and I think Paul would back me up on this. Just felt a little bit of a tone shift from him. He's very confident. Throughout the season, we've heard from him. You wouldn't really realize that during that time, the Patriots defense statistically was kind of in a free fall. And after the bye, it just he seemed a little bit more, I don't know, Paul. I don't know what word to put it. A little unsure, maybe just not quite. Just wasn't exuding this.
I totally agree with you, Mike. I heard the same
Would you
thing.
say humbled?
I hope not resigned.
No, I don't think resigned, but I mean, I just his energy. He always just brings the energy,
Yes.
and I felt a little bit of a dip. Let's just say that to be fair, but how's the defense going to react? I interpret it as DeMarcus Covington spent these last week going through all his games and realizing, man, it's whack-a-mole with this team. It's consistency. If it's not this, it's this. It's always one problem popping up where, there's nothing, and I've said it many times on this show, there's nothing for this defense to hang their hat on.
No.
And that's what I want to see. I want to see your thing. I want to see this defense just come out and play with energy. Play like you looked at the last 2 weeks and said, man, that was embarrassing, some of those games we put on film. Let's come out here with something to prove against this Cardinals offense.
I think this is kind of JV stuff. I hate to say it. I see that Nick Sirianni is getting, accolades across the globe because he had the, foresight to show clips of his team, celebrating together and being a team where Hurts and Brown are pointing fingers at each other and everything like that. It just seems so juvenile to me that that's what you're going to have to do to resort to motivate these guys. But I'd like to see a little bit more of, rather than just picking a guy up after the play, and I know that they all get a Tonka toy or something like that. When they do that, show some exuberance. Get excited when you make a play. Get excited for your teammate when you do something like that. that's all part of being a pain in the neck, I think,
Yeah,
you know?
absolutely.
So next up then, why don't you go, Mr. Dussault?
Sure, I'll go. I mean, we heard all week the stress about the red zone and stress about penalties, and that was a recurring theme from the coaches. That's, red zone on both sides of the coin, specifically, though, in the offense. I think that's a little bit of the final frontier for Drake May. Certainly a very hard place to execute and to score points. But I want to see. That's what they're telling us. I'm sure it's what they're telling the players, too. So you guys have great keys, too. We're trying to round things out. But that's something the coaches have been stressing. Let's see if they can execute those things. Let's see if they can be better in the red zone. What can Alex Van Pelt pull out of his hat? We've seen a little bit of expanded creativity over recent weeks. What does he have? Again, what does DeMarcus Covington have with his defense? What can he reach into his bag of tricks and try to get some stops inside the red zone? Try to get some turnovers. I know they've had a few here popping up, not overwhelming amount, but it's been better in the last couple of weeks. I think they need more. They need to give a spark to the offense and show, hey, we're gonna help you guys out. That taste from, like you said, Indy, that long drive, that bad taste is still in my mouth.
I think that's one thing that Gerard has kind of harped on post-bye, when he had a chance to sit without a test to have to prepare for and look at the previous week's games. I think turnovers really caught his attention, that they turn it over and they're not turning it over. And I'm not trying to sit here and tell you if you flip-flop that, Paul. I'm not trying to make this into an 8-win team or anything like that. But I do think if those turnover numbers were different, maybe some of the results would be different. And it could be just as simple as protecting the ball better and doing a better job there.
Yeah, I mean, they don't take it away. That's the biggest problem to me. I don't think that their giveaways are that out of whack for a 3-10 team, but they don't take it away ever.
No, at all.
Obviously, if you have a good turnover ratio, you have better chances to win the games. There's a lot of that stuff, the close game stuff that people talk about. Yeah, that's where you win and lose the games.
Yeah, they're all close.
Tamara?
My key is play your cards right. I figured this out like 2 weeks ago because I was like, ooh, Cardinals cards. Okay, but enough about them. And that's my whole point. Play your cards right. Don't lean over, look into Deuce's hand and Matt Smith's hand and Paul's hand. Look at the cards.
That could help you, though, in a game of cards.
It could. Cheating. But
Bill's at North Carolina.
Zing.
No.
Play your cards right. There's so many things when you look at this team and they've had a week to self-scout. Deuce brought it up, the red zone. 2-6 in the red zone the last game. Clean that up, and maybe you could win the game. 25-yard field goal. Don't miss those. Those are too easy to be missing. Clean it up, and maybe you could win the game. Defense. So many missed communications, missed tackles. Clean that up. Maybe you could win the game. So I think the Patriots, they had a week to look internally at themselves. They need to come out today and play their cards right. Not be so focused about what the Cardinals are doing, but control what they can control.
I like it. I like it a lot. With the kicker specifically, and I'm sure you guys delved into this ad nauseum during the week, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. What's the move? Mike Reese and I
John
just
Parker
hypothesizing a little bit here that they're bringing him in for the weather, like to give him some relief in kicking in weather or anything like that. I would feel a little bit more comfortable if somebody says, no, you're on notice. We're bringing somebody else in to take a look at it because, quite honestly, we're not good enough to have our kicker miss 25-yard kicks.
Yeah.
It's unacceptable.
Yeah, no, I think I was there for Springer when Mike asked him that on Friday afternoon, and I definitely think competition is part of it as well. And like he did say, limiting the kicks and trying to take a little bit of the wear and tear, but you've got to be right. I mean, he's been way too inconsistent, and certainly last week with missing the short, or 2 weeks ago missing the short one, that. Like, this is the NFL.
Yeah.
You missed that kick. You shouldn't be surprised if somebody's coming in the next
I'm
week.
like 7-1 score games. If you look at these games, and I'm not saying that, he misses a kick every game, but when you look at the games that the Patriots have lost, he has missed a kick. So it's like, whether it's 25 yards, I'm not going to put the 60-yarder against him. But if it's a 25-yarder, I expect that to be a no-brainer.
Yep, so, that's what he's paid to do. And on the competition part, might it be that because Sly did so well this summer in competition, literally mano a mano during training camp, that they said maybe this is a way to try to bring out the best of him. The person who he beat out for the job, Paul, how would you say he's doing so far this year? He's doing okay?
Okay, yeah.
82.6%.
He got off to a really, really good start. He had some big field goals that he made for the Cardinals. Lately, he's missed a couple. So I think those two guys are very much the same. I thought they were very similar in camp. I thought they were both pretty inconsistent. I thought toward the end, Sly was a little more consistent, and that's why he won the job. Yeah. But I didn't think either one of them lit it up in camp. in
No.
terms of their performance every day.
It felt like a real competition almost the entire way, and I
Yeah.
think Sly just kind of pulled away a little bit.
At the end.
But
Little
there wasn't
bit
any
more
argument
consistent.
about that.
No.
Nobody's carrying a flag for Ryland
No.
saying he should have been the kicker.
No, but I wouldn't have carried it. I didn't make an argument for the other guy either.
Okay.
I don't think either one of them necessarily went out and won the job. I thought every day they closed practice, and I would say, Mike, conservatively, like 4 out of 5 practices closed with field goals.
Yeah.
Right?
The psych out session where they're all yelling at him.
And I would say that both of them missed one pretty much every day. I mean, whether it was at the very end or during the course of, we're going to do 2-minute drill and then we're going to do field goals, they missed one all the time. So I didn't think either one of them was terribly, consistent.
And I want to say one more thing, too, with playing your cards right. I know we harped on DeMarcus Covington, and his self-scouting, but AVP, it's like when I look back at that last game specifically, when the Patriots got the ball back after, what was it, the Gonzo interception?
Yes.
Yeah.
Around the
The
8-minute
play
mark.
calling.
It's a tough one.
The play calling right there, it's like, I wonder how many games he went back and looked at and was like, okay, I could have done this better here so that maybe the Patriots could have gotten a first down, eaten the clock and not give it back to the other team.
Yep.
So if that happens again today, I hope that it's not a situation where let's run Ramondre 3 times and get 1 yard and have to punt it back to the other team. So I'm hoping that the coaches, too, can play their cards right.
Love it. Paul, finish things off, please, sir.
To me, this is about 2 guys for Arizona because you want to make sure that you don't allow Arizona to play on their terms. James Conner and Kyler Murray, in both of them in terms of running. Conner, I think, when he gets going, the offense is different, and they're
He's
able
having
to.
a good year, isn't he, Paul?
Yeah, he's played pretty well at over 4 yards a carry. He's played pretty well for them, but you can contain him. He's not one of these guys that's going to get his no matter what. So the run defense needs to be better, and then you need to contain Kyler Murray in the pocket because if you allow him to sort of get out of the pocket and do his thing, he's a tough guy to deal with.
Can I add one more person to that list that I think they need to be wary of, which is it just seems like for my lifetime they've always struggled against this position. The kid McBride at tight end's having a pretty good game.
He's tremendous.
You know?
Great
He's a tremendous player.
And,
Absolutely.
just the Patriots struggle against covering tight ends, and I
They
don't
struggle
think
to cover
Yeah.
everybody. That's why they're last in DVOA.
Yeah.
Like they struggle.
I forgot to look up my DVO stuff this week.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
But I think
it's
the
totally true.
McBride thing is right on. And
Yep.
this is like if they can run and then they can throw when they want to, then McBride's going to be a dangerous guy. I think that's a good, with the way that Duggar has struggled lately.
And Peppers isn't exactly a
big one.
coverage guy either, right?
No, I
I
think
don't say that in front of Mike.
Yeah, be careful. But I do think they'll lean more towards putting Kyle Duggar on him. That's a little bit how they, I think divide it up more. They'd rather have Peppers when they, killer passing downs. We're gonna, divide our safeties up into man coverage. Usually Peppers is the guy who is on the back end. Limited sample size, admittedly, this year with him, but watch Kyle Duggar today. I think he's had a rough couple weeks. He had a bye week to maybe try to get right. I think his struggles have been well documented over the last couple of weeks. So he's another player in the spotlight today. Can he turn the page and author a strong finish to this season as a captain, as a guy who signed a long-term contract, who, for all intents and purposes, should be part of the long-term building plan and a leader on this team.
Because they identified him as they identified him as that this first off season. This is a guy we want to have as a program guy, right?
Yeah, and I mean, be fair. He's had an ankle injury. And
Yes.
that's part of it. You want to at least acknowledge that, but at the same time, you want these guys to play well, and the ones that you gave those contracts to. Now you're getting a chance to see Christian Barmore get out there. Maybe he can start to improve a little bit. Peppers knocking some rust off, getting back in there. Another guy who got a long-term contract this offseason. So I really think other than Hunter Henry, it's been kind of touch and go with a lot of those guys who signed multi-year extensions this offseason.
Sorry, Tamara.
No, another thing I wanted to acknowledge, too, especially with the defense, is the illnesses this week.
Yeah, a lot of masks in the locker room, I heard.
Yeah,
Yes?
so I'm wondering if, maybe that could be an issue today, too, with, Hawkins was ill, Marcus Jones was ill, Devon Godchaux was ill, Kyle Duggar also with a mask in the locker room.
My guy Barmore, I think, is sick as well, right?
Yeah, and so I think that's something to pay attention to today, too, with you could see some shuffling there, too, depending on, maybe people aren't physically feeling well enough to be playing all the snaps that they would have if they weren't sick.
Nothing better to do when you're not feeling well than is to get on a plane and travel 5 or 6 hours in that aluminum can. That should help, right?
Yikes. Yeah.
I want to go back to Barmore for a second because I saw people, rightly so, saying that since he's been back, Barmore really hasn't, stood out or done anything of note for them on the field. I don't want to sit there and say it's impossible for that to happen, but is he so far behind because of what has transpired this year that just getting him on the field is good enough? Or is it fair to expect over these last 4 games that you start to see, oh, this is why they signed him to that deal?
I can't believe people were expecting him to just play the first game and be the Barmore that he was last year, especially when you saw like how he was handled in practice. Like he would practice one day and not practice the next. So it's like you really expect him to be full Barmore again after 1-2 games. Like it's going to take time.
Yeah, Mayo was asked about this this week. I think it was Friday as well. And I mean, I think it's hard. He didn't want to put expectations down either on Barmore, and that's I think it's kind of the dance you do right now of what's reasonable to expect from a guy coming back from something serious like that. But at the same time, I want him to play well. I want to see some flashes here down the end. I know he's been through a lot, but he's going to play a little bit. Let's see something. It's
been a month now.
Let's carry something over.
Is it too soon now to say, well, now we're going to expect to see, maybe let's see you make some plays?
Yeah, I don't expect it, but I'd like to see it. I don't want to hold it over his head. But look, if he gets through the rest of this season and doesn't show anything for a defense that's been really disappointing, he's one guy that you would look at as an opportunity to show something to give you a little bit of a boost here at the end, a little bit. I mean, it's not going to change the whole narrative.
It's a Matt Smithism. It's two things can be true. Absolutely, the bigger story and the better story is that he's back.
Yep.
But I think at this point, we understood it was going to be slow, but you'd like to see a little bit more flash of the other. And we saw like a play or two, I think, in the Colts game. Yeah. Where you're like, oh, there's Barmore. That's the guy we remember. So, yeah, I think at this point, this will be, his 4th or 5th game?
Yeah, around there.
So, yeah, I mean, I think you should be able to, start to expect to see a little bit from him. Yeah, why not?
Yeah, it would, I think, leave people with a better taste in their mouth on this defense, because I think people are looking at this team as a whole as the quarterback, the cornerback, and a lot of open roster spots.
Yeah, yeah. This will be his 4th game this
season. 4th game. Yeah. So I think it's it's time to expect to see something from him. I don't think that's asking too much.
Right. It's just a cacophony of errors in the 1 o'clock window, as they like to say. It looks like there's not a lot of great football out there, Paul.
Red zone Matt?
Yeah.
I like it.
I just see the ball bouncing around on the field all over the place.
I like it.
Here's one for you. Maybe somebody can help me on this one. There's 2 great matchups today at 4:25. It's the Bills and the Lions. It's the
lucky us. We're at 4:25 today.
It's the Eagles and the Steelers. My question, if someone knows this, and I don't, why are the Patriots playing at 4:25 rather than 4 o'clock or 4:05?
Oh,
I think that's a broadcast thing with the double headers. I think it's a rule, whatever the rule is.
Okay.
It's not about the game. It's about the market and the window.
Right.
Why am I trying to answer this?
Because
shouldn't you have this for me?
No,
you're the TV guy.
I know, but they change it every single time. Between it used to be obviously that there's no rhyme or reason as to who does the games anymore. CBS will televise Dallas, Washington, and you sit there and go, what?
Yeah, I bring that up only because
Washington.
Mike, you might remember this. Mike, you might know this. So, I think someone called this week and said that it's a rarity where both networks are having double
4
headers.
games, yeah.
So there's 4 games on today. So 2 1 o'clocks one on CBS, 1 on Fox, 2 4:25s, whatever, on CBS and Fox. That generally doesn't happen.
No, it doesn't.
Right?
And so when you sit there and go, how do you not know, genius? It's because I think they change the rules every week about this, I
didn't call you genius. I just said
well,
you know more about this than I do.
I know. I'm paraphrasing a little bit.
Nice touchdown catch there by a future
Patriot?
Bengal, T. Higgins.
Yeah, that's the way it looks. It's funny how that's working.
See what I did there?
What do you mean?
Do you think they have the coins
You think
pay
you think
him?
he's a re-sign?
A lot of people are starting to say that it
what
looks
some
like
of the-
he's going to be back in Cincinnati.
So some of the scuttlebutt has been.
Really? Because they're going to wheel Chase?
Oh, geez.
Oh, no.
No, geez.
I just
No.
respected Scuttlebutt?
Respected scuttlebutt, I think.
Yeah, over the last
As
2
respected
weeks.
as the-
Right? The last 2 weeks, everybody thought he was
Burrow
gone.
said it at his press
Gonzo.
conference.
Yeah, Burrow has been saying it, and
He's trying to manifest it, I
people
think.
in Cincinnati and on that beat have been starting to say they could see him being back. They're not calling it a lock or anything, but they could see him being back. Whereas a month ago, it was a foregone conclusion that he was gone.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to go anti-scuttlebutt. Until the Bengals change their stripes, I think they're going to begrudgingly pay for Burrow because they have to. They will begrudgingly pay for Chase because they have to, but that's about it. They'll draft somebody and feel like that their evaluators can get a second round, third round wide receiver, and he'll be great opposite Chase.
It's a good philosophical question to have because it's so hard to talk. We talk all the time about getting a number one here, but what happens if you get kind of a one and that 2-1B kind of guy? Like, how much should the organization stretch to keep both those guys? Like, does it make sense, or does it, philosophically, do you say, look, we can't keep two of these guys for pay structure. We got to, invest a little bit on the defensive side of the ball. We can't load up too much on two
Mike,
receivers.
what's their record?
Or can you?
Yeah.
They can't stop a nosebleed.
No, they can't stop Tennessee today.
Right?
I personally would keep both because I'm like, I want another team to have their hands full, like to have to worry about.
I agree with Tamara.
Because I'm like, okay, say if we do have our number one and they double teaming him, I want to have a guy just as good as him on the opposite side.
Yep.
So
It's just, I think it just goes back to you can't pay everybody at every position. So you
Correct.
have to selectively choose, look, we're going to put a little bit more towards this
Just
side,
so
a
you
little
know,
less toward this
you
side.
can if you want to.
Yeah.
You
But
can
I
pay.
agree with Matt that the Bengals have traditionally been one of the teams that chooses not to.
Fiscally responsible.
Correct.
And I would think that they are going to be fiscally responsible.
What are they?
It's just-
What are they projecting it now? 275 million, 285 million the cap. Don't listen to these people. Somehow the owners of these multi-billionaires have convinced people that you need to worry about who gets paid, and you can't have a team like it's the greatest. It's like the usual suspect.
But don't you think there's a baseline of just budgeting
Nope.
and like
No.
you just think pay everybody everything? Like, I don't know if that makes sense.
You can do whatever it is you want to do, and you can structure the contracts however you want. That's why it's a fakakta cap with the void years and all the other mechanisms that are in place for you to get around the rules, basically.
Yeah.
Like but it requires biting the bullet and paying money. Like it costs real money to do that.
Yeah.
And you can make an argument. Well, the teams that do that don't win. Okay, I'll take your word for it. I'd like to see should the Celtics not have re-signed all their players, and paid $400 million over the cap because they're the best team in basketball, or can you not win doing it that way?
No.
Well, do you put anything though in having a pay structure, or having we want to pay Brady the highest and we're not going to go over him, or is it T. Higgins now makes that's the hard thing, right?
I personally
but you
wouldn't
don't care.
I would personally try to do the best I could to put the best team on the field that I could possibly field.
All right, so let's make you Mike Brown, Paul Perillo.
I would sign T. Higgins.
You'd sign Higgins.
Yeah.
Okay.
who is a good one?
I hope they
1B?
do, because I don't want to see T. Higgins in a Patriot uniform next year. I know that's probably not a popular
Wait,
thing
why don't you?
because I think the Patriots need a number one receiver, and I don't think T. Higgins is a number one receiver.
Matt doesn't like guys that.
No, Matt likes good players
that
like
can-
Jamar
that are-
Chase.
that are talented.
Not okay players like T. Higgins.
Okay.
Right.
He's okay. He's a little bit better than okay.
So one of the things that I learned from Matt in his first year as the host is Matt is
stinks. Matt, what? I mean,
No, very high bar. I was going to actually give you a compliment. You have a very high bar of talent.
So
what you think is talented.
yeah.
who else is on Jamar Chase level to you right now in the league?
Justin Jefferson.
Jefferson.
It's Toto, not a must. That's it.
That's
Yeah.
it.
No, I mean those two.
CeeDee Lamb, he's okay. Quote.
He's okay. He's okay.
He has a very high bar, and he's very
Oh, wow.
consistent. I know this probably sounds like I'm snarky Paul right now. This is how Matt feels. He's very consistent with it, and it's like Fred and I when we talk about the Hall of Fame and how no one will be in it. That's how Matt is with talent.
I wouldn't go. Yeah.
There's 5 guys in the league that are really talented. The rest of them, they're okay.
I get-
So
I get-
where are Tyreek Hill and Debo Samuel? on this
Tyreek
list?
Hill
Oh,
is
Debo Samuel is not
I mean,
on my
Tyreek Hill
list.
is upper echelon amongst the best receivers. He could have been and should have been the most valuable player last year in the National Football League. That's how good Tyreek Hill is.
Okay.
He's getting older, and therefore I think this is just a guess. I don't play a trainer at all. My guess is his speed, and plus he's been nicked a little bit this year. That dynamic part of his play hasn't been around, and I think that's effective. Waddle's been in and out. Tua obviously been in and out. They just haven't been able to find a rhythm. But Hill's at the upper echelon. Who was the other one you asked about?
Debo.
No, thanks.
No thanks.
No.
Okay,
I'll tell you who's
Debo's
who's really
out of
good?
gas.
I'll tell
I
you who's
agree
really
with
good. The kid for the Commanders, McLaren.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's a
Scary
good player.
Terry? Okay.
I like that player.
What about George Pickens?
Oh no.
Minus the
No,
the
You
mental.
would not take George Pickens?
No. No.
You got.
Wait,
He's a lunatic. I mean,
So what?
You gotta spend. I don't want that on my team. That's how I build a team. You go pay everybody everything and take anybody who's good.
Here we go.
And I'm gonna
You gonna
have
leave me hanging?
some guys that I'm gonna be selective about.
You gonna leave me hanging? I'm with you.
No, but you gave me a good reason. You didn't say it at first. I thought you didn't think he was any good.
No, he's a
of
terrific
course
Then you,
player.
then you said he's a lunatic, so that's
terrific
why you
player.
wouldn't take him.
Right.
That's fine.
Right. No, and I don't. That's part of.
I thought you were
how-
suggesting, like Matt, that he's not any good.
Oh
No, I didn't say
Well,
he's
Like
not-
T. Higgins, like 1,000-yard receiver
Listen.
without Jamar Chase
Once again-
as a rookie is not any good.
Paul,
No,
Paul
no.
is putting words in my mouth. I think T. Higgins is a
you
good
think he's
player.
meh?
Yeah.
Meh.
I
You
don't
called
think
him
he's.
meh.
I don't think he's $32 million a year player. That's all.
But that's what receivers cost.
Yeah,
So
and
if
I-
you don't want to pay him, I understand. And I told Mike is right with you.
Yeah,
But
I am.
that's what players cost. If you don't want to pay them, then don't.
I want to pay.
Have the receiving core that you have now. No one on that receiving core makes $32 million,
Right.
and you also don't have anybody in the receiving core that can catch the ball
Correct.
and not fall down.
Yeah. Well, there's a middle ground, but I will say, watching behind the scenes with Pickens and hearing how other teams talk about him, about it all goes through this guy, but also seeing what Mike Tomlin has to go to manage him. Like,
Yeah.
it's fine. Like,
That's hard
You want to
work.
sign up for the ride? Good. Like,
Oh no,
he's talented,
Mike, you
you'll get him. Like-
totally explain yourself. I
Oh,
totally get it. I totally get it. What
I'm
you're
saying though, like I have a different, like I've kind of had this opinion of Pickens for a while now, but then to see the behind the scenes when it's hard to maintain that opinion when you see the Cleveland Browns, the Cincinnati Bengals talking about George Pickens being like, this is the guy. Like you hear all the things we hear not about the Patriots, but that's my personal look at a team. That's not for me. That's not spending time having to keep somebody.
No, I would
at
just
the-
respectfully disagree, but that's a
Yeah.
very logical argument.
Well,
And I say this, I argue with Matt about the wide receivers all the time, but he's got a very
Right.
sound argument. I get it.
The hard thing is just splitting the hairs with T. Higgins of how good is he? How
Right.
good do you think he is? How good will he? It's not
Right,
something
right.
separate of like, look, he's just
Like yours is much
kinda
better.
hard
Like
to
I just think the
there's an
guy's
actual
he's a
reason.
loose cannon. I would look at it and say, I'll take Antonio Brown in Pittsburgh and say, okay, he's a loose cannon, but I might get 5 or 6 years out of him.
Yeah.
Well-
and I would take that chance.
As we go behind enemy lines, and we're going to be joined.
You know the view from New England, but what about the view from the other side?
And that's why you're our favorite pregame show guest every year.
You guys know you tell everybody that.
Oh, yeah?
I was on with you guys in 2018 Thursday Night Football.
Yep.
And I was told I was the favorite guest of the show.
Nope.
No.
Time now to go behind enemy lines.
My God, it's coming right for us!
And as we go behind enemy lines, we are speaking with Darren Urban of ArizonaCardinals.com. That is a team that doesn't have to worry about who their number one wide receiver is because they drafted him this year in Marvin Harrison Jr. And how has the dividends or the benefits of having Marvin Harrison Jr. in the lineup been for the Arizona Cardinals, Darren?
Well, I think at this point there's still a little bit of a learning curve there for Harrison. I mean, I think as they got into the year, there was obviously tremendous expectations when you're talking about the 4th overall pick, but it's shown up sometimes. It's shown up not other times, and I think as a passing game as a whole, they're still trying to figure some things out. Obviously the Patriots have had some issues with their receiving core, and the Cardinals haven't had a ton more production from their wide receivers this season themselves. Their top pass catcher is going to be tight end Trey McBride. So, I mean, I think Marvin Harrison gets there, but I think there were people that thought, okay, you're talking about a rookie season like Justin Jefferson or Jamar Chase, and it never hasn't quite happened. He's certainly been effective at times. He does have 7 touchdowns, so it's not like he hasn't been a weapon, but I think there's still some growing to do, and I think next year is going to show a lot more of what Marvin Harrison will be overall.
Darren, just coming off 3 straight losses, seems like Cardinals a little bit one of these late season swoons again. What's the energy around the team, and what kind of vibe do you get from them coming out today? What kind of energy do you think they'll bring?
Well, I mean, they were in control of what they had in front of them, and they let that go in a big way. They went to the bye. They were playing really good football. They lost in Seattle. Okay, they played really well in Minnesota and let that one get away from them at the end of the game. But everything was still in front of them if they were able to beat Seattle last week. And not only did they lose at home, but for the first time, Jonathan Gannon kind of mentioned the fact that he was disappointed in their motor, as he calls it, which is essentially their effort. And when you're talking about a game where you have to stay in control of the division, it's a disappointing turn of events. I do think they're going to play well today. I think everybody looks at, with all due respect to the Patriots, if you're truly a team that still wants to talk about potentially being in the playoffs or even making a step forward as a team this year, this is a game you need to win at home, and you need to do it in a decent fashion. And I know the Patriots have been playing better football, and I know that the message to the Cardinals from the coaching staff this week has been, hey, last year we were a 3-win team, a 2-win team at this time of year, and we went to Pittsburgh and we went to Philadelphia and we won games, and this is kind of where the Patriots are right now. They're playing better football even though they only have so many wins, and they can be dangerous. But you got to show it on the field. I do think they're going to perform well today, because if they do win out, they could still potentially have some kind of hope. But I think this is a very, very much a bellwether game for them, because when you're playing a team like this, if you truly are a playoff team, this is when you have to win.
Darren, what's been the common denominator in all three of the Cardinals' losses from the past 3 weeks?
I think if you're going to go with a common denominator, it's the fact that the offense has been not as effective as it should. In the two Seattle games, it just wasn't good. They weren't scoring touchdowns enough, and Kyler Murray has been throwing interceptions. I mean, Kyler Murray had 3 interceptions in 10 games before the bye. He's thrown 5 interceptions in 3 games since the bye. So that's a big part of it. But offensively, they need to be more consistent. It got a little bit weird because against Minnesota, they had over 400 yards of offense. But every time they got near the goal line, they couldn't push it over, and they ended up losing by a point. So it hasn't been completely consistent over all 3 games. Seattle, they just weren't doing enough offensively. And I think, again, can they do that today against the Patriots? Can they run the ball like they normally can? Can their passing game be, I hate to keep using the word consistent, but it's just not there. Like, there are times when they make nice plays, when Marvin Harrison makes a nice play, when they go to Trey McBride, he's the dominating tight end that should be, and then there's other times where it just gets lost. And they got to get to a point where it's not as up and down as it has been.
Speaking of getting those touchdowns, Darren Urban, how has Trey McBride caught so many passes and not been able to score a single one?
You know, what's funny about Trey McBride is he does have 2 touchdowns this year. He just happened to do one on an end around and another one on a fumble recovery that James Conner had. But,
yes, his fantasy owners are happy for those, but
yeah, I'm sure.
Kind of looking for others.
They've targeted him. He's been targeted in the end zone a handful of times. He just hasn't come up with. I mean, there was at least 1 or 2 where Kyler Murray just missed them. Like, he was open in the end zone and he just missed them. There was another time that, quite frankly, Trey probably could have come down with a pass in the end zone and didn't quite do it. Actually, he thinks there's 2 times in that regard. Like, last week against Seattle, he was open in the end zone, and Kyler just was way high with the pass. So it's a weird combination. I do think he's going to get a touchdown catch or 2 before the season's over. Who knows? Maybe that's today. But it does feel strange. But, again, a lot of that goes back to what we were talking about before, which is they get close to the end zone. They do not consistently score enough touchdowns. And, you know, if they were, I'm assuming Trey McBride would be more involved in that.
As I'm listening to your analysis, Darren, I'm hearing some code words that Coach called out the team for their effort. You know, that this is a spot where you've got to win the games that you're supposed to win. And as I'm listening to you say that, my guess is that you feel that this is a get-right game for Arizona today.
Well, let me put it this way. It better be a get-right game for them. With all due respect to the Patriots, no coach or player is ever going to say that. But when you're looking at it, like, again, if you're a playoff team and you're at home against a team with 3 wins, like, how do you not see that as a game? And a team that, while it's playing better, struggles in some key areas, like pass protection and rushing the passer. I'm like, you have to capitalize on those. The good teams capitalize on those. And to be frank, like these are the games the Cardinals have won this year. Like when the Bears came in here and the Jets came in here, the Cardinals dominated. Now, I'm not saying that's going to happen today, but that's what's happened. And in fact, one of the issues with the post-bye for this team is they played a Seattle team that I think is getting right with the first-year head coach and a Minnesota team that's very good. And that might be part of it, is that they just started playing more difficult teams here in that stretch over the last 3 games. Well, the Patriots aren't one of those teams. So, whether it is a good get-right game or not, sometimes you've got to take care of the business that you got to take care of if you want to be that team that you think you are.
Darren, everybody sees Budda Bakers all over the place, but is there anyone else on the defense you could highlight maybe as a potential impact player today against the Patriots?
Well, you guys will enjoy this one. I think Mac Wilson Sr. signed as a free agent from the Patriots. He got a little bit of run last year from Bill Belichick as a pass rusher, and that was enough that convinced the Cardinals that he could be this jack-of-all-trades linebacker, and they wanted to sign him as a free agent. And for the most part, he's been that guy. He's played really good football. He's played both off-ball linebacker and as an edge rusher at times. He's teamed with Kaiser White kind of in the front seven to do some nice things. I don't know if he's necessarily going to the Pro Bowl or anything, but for a guy that, quite frankly, has been under the radar most of his NFL career, I think they really hit on him in free agency, and he's a guy that I'm sure, in fact, I talked to him, so I know this, he's anxious to play this game today and have a good game against his former team.
Really well put there on Mac, and Gerard Mayo was talking about him earlier this week. So let's put you on the spot, Darren, and give us a pick, please, sir.
Well, I just talked all that mess, so I might as well pick the Cardinals here. I think they're going to find a way to get in the end zone, maybe not as much as they'd like, but I think they win this game 27-14 and at least keep their slight playoff hopes alive.
His name is Darren Urban of ArizonaCardinals.com. Follow him. Read him. He does a great job in covering the Cardinals. Darren, thanks for your time today. Enjoy the game. Thank you very much.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks, Darren.
Thanks, Darren.
All right. Here's a question for the crowd. If your team runs on their fans, what do the fans run on? When you kick off your day with Dunkin', we're with you all the way to the end zone. Make a run to Dunkin', official coffee run of the Patriots. This is the Patriots pregame social fueled by Dunkin'. We'll be back right after this timeout.
Without good blocking, your team's not going anywhere. Cisco blocks cyber attacks for customers around the world, including the entire Fortune 100 and the NFL. Because when the game is on the line, and it's always on the line, the NFL relies on Cisco.
It ain't my dad's razor, Dad.
Hey, watch it.
It's from Gillette Labs. This green bar releases trapped hairs from my face.
Game changer.
While the Flex, this contours to it. So the 5 blades can get virtually every hair in one stroke. For the ultimate Gillette shaving experience.
The best a man can get
is Gillette Labs.
By the time this Patriots fan is finished drinking his Pepsi, you'll be 15 seconds closer to game time. Patriots watching. Better with Pepsi.
Without good blocking, your team's not going anywhere. Cisco blocks cyber attacks for customers around the world, including the entire Fortune 100 and the NFL. Because when the game is on the line, and it's always on the line, the NFL relies on Cisco.
It ain't my dad's razor, Dad.
Hey, watch it.
It's from Gillette Labs. This green bar releases trapped hairs from my face.
Game changer.
While the Flex, this contours to it. So the 5 blades can get virtually every hair in one stroke. For the ultimate Gillette shaving experience.
The best a man can get
is Gillette Labs.
By the time this Patriots fan is finished drinking his Pepsi, you'll be 15 seconds closer to game time. Patriots watching. Better with Pepsi.
got to watch your NFL team every Sunday, and Verizon's got you covered for all your team's out-of-market games every Sunday afternoon. Come on! From kickoff to sign-off, from first downs and touchdowns to turnovers and overturned plays.
After review, the pass was incomplete.
Let's go! This season, win every Sunday with Verizon. Get a great deal on NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV and a new phone. Excludes digital-only games. Terms and embargoes apply.
With FedEx One Rate, you can ship to your student for a simple, predictable flat rate. Send a box full of home-baked treats that say, "Your father and I miss you." Or send a box full of instant noodles that says, "Your father and I would like you to stop asking us for money." Either way, one rate fits all. FedEx One Rate. 2-day shipping, one flat rate. Starting at $14.50. Visit FedEx.com/OneRate for details. Exclusions apply.
You've got to watch your NFL team every Sunday, and Verizon's got you covered for all your team's out-of-market games every Sunday afternoon. Come on! From kickoff to sign-off, from first downs and touchdowns to turnovers and overturned plays.
After review, the pass was incomplete.
Let's go! This season, win every Sunday with Verizon. Get a great deal on NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV and a new phone. Excludes digital-only games. Terms and embargoes apply.
With FedEx One Rate, you can ship to your student for a simple, predictable flat rate. Send a box full of home-baked treats that say, "Your father and I miss you." Or send a box full of instant noodles that says, "Your father and I would like you to stop asking us for money." Either way, one rate fits all. FedEx One Rate. 2-day shipping, one flat rate. Starting at $14.50. Visit FedEx.com/OneRate for details. Exclusions apply.
Join the conversation by calling into the TPX hotline at 855-PATS-500 or email the show at podcast@patriots.com. Now, live from our studios, here is Matt Smith.
And welcome back to the Patriots Pregame Social, fueled by Dunkin'. Easy to drink, easy to enjoy. Bud Light, the official beer sponsor of the New England Patriots. Also, we want to hear from you at 855-PATS-500. And email us, please, podcast@patriots.com. We'll kick things off with Charlie in Cyprus, who writes, "Great show as always. I'm really hopeful that the coaches have learned from their mistakes as much as the players have. Yes, some players have played badly or softly, but the coaches have coached scared and or stupid. There's nothing to lose in this game, so no conservative play calling or trying to run out the clock with 7 minutes left. And definitely no baffling end of half game management. Thank you," says Charlie in Cyprus. I think we can get on board with that. I don't agree with some of his verbiage as far as that is concerned. However, with 4 games left, roll the dice.
Yeah,
I'm not sitting there saying I'm looking for flea flicker from your own 10 or anything like that, but let caution be damned.
It's funny listening to Darren. I think what I've picked up over watching, back-to-back 3-4 win seasons here is that NFL teams will still make plays from time to time. It's just consistency. Like, that's the good teams. They can do it for almost the whole game, and especially toward the end of the season, they're going to do it almost consistently through those games that, when they matter the most. But, with this Patriots team this year, that Patriots team last year, Darren was talking about the Cardinals this year, you see glimpses of it, but they just don't do it consistently enough. And I put that with the coaching staff too. You see they've had a couple games where the defense looks good. A couple games, not a lot. You're seeing some creativity from the offense. You've seen some, at times they're aggressive, other times they're not. So I agree with the point, but I think that this is kind of a symptom of just when you're not a good team, it's hard to execute day in, day out, play in, play out. That's how it goes.
Sure. Jay writes, "I'm 51 and have watched the Patriots my entire life. Even when they suck, I still watch the entire game. What's wrong with me?" he asks. And I would say, Jay, nothing. You're a fan. That's what you do when you're a fan, and you're a loyal fan. Keep watching. Your fandom and loyalty will be rewarded. I don't know when, but it will be rewarded. Let's hit the phone lines at 855-PATS-500. And if I can figure out how to work the mouse, let's see if I can get to Patty from Agawam to kick things off. Good afternoon, Patty. How are you today, sir?
What is up, gentlemen? Let's go.
I like the energy, Patty. Always brings it, but I like it right out of the chute.
Afternoon, Patty.
Yeah, good job.
Already drunk,
All right,
Patty.
so
I was going to say maybe have... Might have already had adult libation in him already. Nothing wrong with that.
No.
Of course I do, Matt. Come on, it's Sunday, and I got the next week off of work.
Good
So,
for
yeah,
you. Good
better
for you.
believe
Indulge for me, will you
better
please?
believe I'm indulging.
Good for you.
So, Deuce, I got a couple things for you, and I got a two-part question for you guys.
Question
Deuce,
for me?
first thing. Yeah, well, no, I got two things for you. First off, when you said on Thursday's show, the frequently asked questions, what you proposed to call it, I loved it. Like I started cracking up laughing. Yeah. And dude, listen, if you want to start a band, dude, I am a musician and I'm a very good musician. I could play rhythm guitar, I could play keys, I could play bass, whatever you need me to do, bro. Let's do it. Let's make it happen.
All right, I love it. 2025 is the year I get serious about my music, Matt. That's what's going to happen.
Yeah, me too, buddy.
We're going to get
lead singer.
Happen.
I don't know what it's going to be.
Bass guitar,
well, I'm kind
drums.
of like, I think I'm like Patty. I can strum the rhythm guitar. I can tickle the keys a little bit. But that's like fourth grade piano.
Yeah, and Deuce, I could throw a little leads in there. I don't know about lead singing, but I could sing backups and I could do pretty much everything but drums.
Tamara will sing. She's down,
so here's
right?
it's too tough. I can't. I'm too old to learn. You know. So here's my two-part question. You know, from the nerd metrics, we all know that Kyler Murray is not good when you send 6 or more people at him. But are we able to generate a pass rush with just sending 5, like 3, 4, or 5 guys? Because I think that's going to be important. And on that same note, you know, maybe you throw in the Longhorn package. But on the same note, like one guy I've been very disappointed with this year, and you know, maybe it's just an off year, but I think Kyle Duggar's been he's been sneakily bad this year. And could you see? And this might be more of a PU question, but I just want to get your guys' opinion on it today. Like, after the season's over, could you see us possibly moving on from Kyle Duggar after this year? And I'll take it off here, guys. And I'm picking a Patriots win, like Fred. I'm picking a 27-24 win. Let's go, baby. Let's make it happen.
Love it, Patty. As we said, going into the phone call, easy to drink, easy to enjoy. Bud Light is the official beer sponsor of the New England Patriots.
I like it, Matt.
Maybe his call should be brought to us by Bud
Sponsored
Light.
Sponsored by.
Patty's week is.
So do you want to take on the first answer?
I don't think they'd move on from him this year. I did do some contract deep dives the last couple of weeks. Just curious what the
cap hit would be.
If you wanted to bite the bullet on some of these contracts you did last year, I think most of them are here for this year. But after that, it gets a little easier. But I think it's obvious that Kyle's had some struggles. Certainly, the ankle injury. But I think what was it, a couple weeks ago we were talking, he had a hand in kind of all the touchdowns you could have said he was kind of involved in them that they allowed. So, yeah, I don't know. It's disappointing. It's really disappointing.
Here's one for you with regards to Kyle Duggar. Is Kyle Duggar a second banana at safety as opposed to the top dog at safety? Is he better when there's a more well-rounded
with a McCourty,
all around
with a Devin McCourty?
Yeah, and I know Devin McCourties don't grow on trees, okay? But is that maybe where a guy like Duggar shines? And if he gets that sort of safety blanket, no pun not intended there, away, that maybe some of the things as to why he was in Division II and stuff like that, maybe those sort of flare up a little bit. Is that a fair critique?
I think what you're saying is you can hide him then, and that's I think just.
I don't mean hide him, but maybe you can blitz him a little bit more. You know, he can be a little bit more of a ball hawk. Where now, if he's got to be, you know, kind of running things out there, that might not be that might not play to his strengths.
Maybe. Mm-hmm. I mean, I think you're in the area on it. I think the disappointing thing is that you drafted the guy in the second round and you want him to be an all-arounded safety who's improving every year and really starting to, you know, make plays. And you think about Devin McCourty, like how he really excelled at safety and you know, became the glue of that 3-man group that really ran things on that back end for those championships. And I think that's what's frustrating is you just haven't really seen that development from Kyle Duggar. And it goes back to what I was saying about consistency. Like, he's made some plays in the past.
No question.
But there's a lot that you're like, man, that's Duggar in coverage, just a step behind again.
I don't think he's ever been a great coverage player.
No.
I agree with that. But he's a playmaker, and he hasn't made many plays this year.
Right.
It's, you know,
it's
hasn't
pretty
been
basic.
Hasn't been a good year for him.
Yeah.
As we just hear from Paul, Travis writes in, I wanted to let Paul know he's got that, quote, quarter pole thing backwards.
Oh, get ready.
In horse racing, the quarter pole is a quarter mile from the finish line. Thank you, says Travis in West Virginia. Bob Newmeyer here. Did you miss that on the quarter pole, Paul, or no? Might Travis be right?
I thought that was Freddie.
According to Travis, I've missed it.
I thought that was Freddie.
It was explained to me exactly the opposite way. But
Okay.
I'll take Travis's word because I'm not a horse racing aficionado.
You're not a handicapper?
I am not.
Okay.
So I'll take Travis's word on that.
Okay, we're coming up close to the witching hour here, Tamara, and math, among many things, is not my strong suit. But at a little past 5 of the hour, when does the inactive list get released for a 4:25 game?
I'm also really bad at math.
It's a 90-minute mark, so wouldn't that be at 2:55?
Approximately.
Let me get my shoes off and start counting my toes, but I got to believe that we're in the neighborhood, aren't we?
We are in the neighborhood. I'm sure they'll be coming down the pike here in a minute. But I think just to call out, I think Paul had a good observation the last couple of weeks of just talking. Some of the guys that have been on the injury report, who's active, who's able to go. Tamara mentioned some of the sickness. Is that going to hold some guys back? I think there are some questions today. Not all on the wide receiver group. I think that's pretty much set in with Javon Baker and concussion protocol. But otherwise, we'll see if there's any other surprises.
And so to remind fans, the Patriots are going into this game with 4 wideouts. It's Booty, KB,
JP,
Pop Douglas,
and Pop,
and Polk.
Yeah.
So if one is looking to see Polk emerge, there's no better time to do it than today, wouldn't you say?
But
there's going to be opportunity.
Should be.
I feel like the opportunity really hasn't changed in my opinion because typically they've only had 4 actually playing.
Yep.
So
and a lot of
I don't
times
know how
he's in on
different-
blocking downs.
Yeah.
Like they want him to go block guys downfield or, come across the middle and try to, what does Evan likes to say, dig out the 3 technique.
There you go. Yeah, was that a mesh concept?
It's maybe. But yeah, I'm not sure. I mean, I'd love to see Polk be able to go. It's been one of the biggest head scratchers of my career here, working for the team and watching a lot of training camp practices. And you see guys in the summer and you get a pretty good sense of what they are, and it almost has always carried over into the season. And he's one that I really thought was on track for going to be a solid year, good hands. 3rd down, 3rd and 6, he gets you 7 with a strong catch and gets down. Those were the kind of plays I expected to see. I've mentioned it, last play of mini camp, gets competitive down there back in May before training camp. May throws a fade to Jalen Polk. They score a touchdown, big celebration, kind of put a cap on OTAs and mini camp and all that. And you left that point feeling like, all right, this second round kid's going to come in and contribute. And it is, it's. I mean, I guess disaster has got to be the word. I mean, there are stats out there, PFF grades, take them for what they're worth, but just completely below production that you would expect this kid to have. And it's a head scratcher. And I hope that if it doesn't happen over these final 4 games, that he's able to get back on track. He's been getting these questions constantly over the course of the season as he's continued to fight it. But I would love it. If he could have a game where he all of a sudden 5-6 catches, it's not going to change how his rookie season went, but at the same time, it will at least give you a reminder and some reason for belief this offseason that, maybe he can be part of this wide receiver mix going forward.
So let me ask you this, Mike. If you're scratching your head, what do you think Elliott Wolf, Matt Groh, the wide receiver coach Tyler Hughes, who had him in Washington, what must they be doing? Because somebody got up on the table in April and said, this is our guy, And imagine the frustration that these people who, in some cases, put their reputation on the line, this is a guy, he's going to be fine. What must they be thinking about this as we're in Week 15, and this is what we're working with so far?
Especially to me, he's the kind of guy that doesn't feel on paper like a hugely risky project. He felt like he has a floor because he's strong, he's fast enough, he's got good size. It wasn't like, hey, we're going to take a flyer on this 170-pound guy, and maybe he turns out to be Tyreek Hill, but more likely than not, he's just not going to have the size to be able to compete in this league. I think Polk has all the physical traits that he needs. Maybe not to get to like a number 1, 2, but to be a really solid type of player. And so I imagine, I'm scratching my head. I imagine they're scratching their head and they're pounding the table of like,
where did we miss on any evaluation?
How did this go wrong? And I'm not sure what the answer is. Like I said, it's uncharted territory for me. I've never seen something quite like it.
I thought that, especially once Drake May got in and started playing, I was like, okay, great. This will be Polk's chance because these two have been like attached at the hip since they got here. They stay after practice with each other. They have great chemistry. Once Drake starts, everything will make sense for Polk, and it hasn't quite happened that way. So that's a bit surprising to me too, is thinking like, okay, this guy is going to be his security blanket. He's going to be like a Jacoby Myers for Mac Jones, but it hasn't shaken out the way I thought it would.
Speaking of wide receivers, an email for you, Deuce, from Mike in Boca Raton. Did Deuce get to see number 83-yard end-of-half TD from undrafted Holy Cross receiver Jalen Croker?
Coker got one? No, I didn't see it, but thank you for calling it out. I know he's been having some success down there with Carolina, and he was an awesome player to watch. Jumped out of the gym in the combine, so I'm always excited for one of these Crusaders to go on to the NFL and have success, and he's a great kid. So thank you for the shout-out. That's pretty cool. I'm pulling for him for sure.
You got it?
Yes.
Do we have a breaking news sounder, Marine Corps?
I feel like it needs to be like Law and Order.
Okay.
Like that needs to be my sound.
Okay.
Yeah.
We break it.
I feel like my
Outstanding, thank you.
Official
Nice
sound
job.
should be like the Law and Order, like done.
Okay.
Let
us have it.
Inactives are out, and the highlight is Cole Strange. We talked about it at the top of the show with him being added to the 53-man roster. He is going to be inactive today, so looks like what we were talking about at the top of the show. How much will he play today? Will you get him in there at center? Will you get him in there at guard? He's not going to play today. So it's very unfortunate because, you would hope to start getting that chemistry going with Drake May to see what do you have in the last 4 games, but looks like he wasn't quite ready to go.
And that's got to be what it is, that they just don't think that he's ready to be put into action yet.
Yeah. And
simple. Right?
And then the list, Baker, we obviously knew that. Marte Mapu, odd man out at safety. Joe Milton, emergency quarterback, Tyrese Robinson, and then Cole Strange. Very short list.
Deuce, are we getting into head-scratching territory with Mr. Mapu?
I don't know if I know what you're saying. I don't know if I would call it head-scratching. I think it's more that the writing is now on the wall, that we're starting to realize that, Del Pettis, Jalen Hawkins are, more valuable, I guess, at this point in the coaching staff size than Marte Mapu is. So it's another disappointing second-round guy.
We're talking about a healthy scratch here, correct?
Yeah, healthy scratch. I think he came off the report a couple weeks ago. So, he came back. Remember, and he played like at linebacker, and he played like every snap. And we're like, "Welcome to the party, Marte Mapu. Time to get excited." And he hasn't been able to maintain that. Peppers came back, and I think the story really is pointing to like Del Pettis, like a young undrafted guy coming in. And granted, there's some differentiation of the roles there. So it's, they're different players. I think it's probably more a little bit related to Jalen Hawkins, whereas Del Pettis is really kind of a special teams player. But, nevertheless, it's a guy that they drafted highly that you were hoping could emerge. Talk about disappointment at the safety position. Got hurt like the first day of practice in training camp, missed all of training camp. Ton of credit for coming in, but again, he's had a couple months now to prove himself and to really carve out that role full time amongst guys that are above him on the depth chart, at least when the season started, and he hasn't been able to do it. So it's disappointing.
And what's crazy is like if the whole thing with Peppers didn't happen, those other 2 safeties would never have played as much as they did for the coaches to feel like, okay, we can do without Mapu. So it's interesting that like just the way this is played out, obviously you can't expect injuries and things like what happened with Peppers to happen, but it's like if that would have never happened, if Duggar wouldn't have hurt his ankle, if Peppers wouldn't have been out, those other 2 wouldn't have gotten as much playing time for the coaches to see, okay, this is what we have here.
Yeah, let me say one more thing on this, Matt, too. I think really what's more disappointing to me is just how hard it's been for them at inside off-the-ball linebacker, which is plenty of people
going to bring that up.
Plenty of people probably watching right now who were pounding the table for him to play linebacker. And it's been tough. I mean, they've gone to Christian Ellis, who's been primarily a special teams player. Jelani Tavai playing a little bit out of position. And so I think as much as it's on the surface, you're looking at Marte Mapu as a safety, I think really it's a little bit more disappointing when you think like they couldn't get him at off-the-ball linebacker. They couldn't give him, after he did that cold off the bench from being injured. So the coaches are watching it, so I'm sure that he's just not quite a fit that they want inside like that. But I think that's what's more disappointing. I think really that would get me excited if all of a sudden he's inside and playing just linebacker. Let the other 3 guys with Hawkins worry about the safety spot. So it's not shaping up to a great year for Marte Mapu, unfortunately.
I preface this, Michael. as a head scratcher, and I think we've talked ourselves into it is a head scratcher. It's a head scratcher.
Yeah. Well, I think that the thing that's being scratched is he's just he's not earning the opportunities over
On
some
a
of these
3-10
guys
team,
that you would hope that
a guy
he
that
would.
was a third-round
Yep.
pick should be seeing, if he's healthy, in my opinion, should be seeing significant time and isn't. So
Yep.
you wonder why.
Yep.
An emailer here. This is L from Wisconsin. Based on how Matt feels about wide receiver talent, I'd love to hear how he evaluates the current Patriots wide receiver group. I think they're a bunch of 2, 3, 4 wide receivers at best. And I say that, I'm a big KB fan. Kendrick Bourne is not a number 1 wide receiver. I joke often that there is a scribe who commented about Pop Douglas, that he's a threat to score every single time he touches the ball.
Oh,
I
wow.
just think that's hyperbole at its worst when you say something like that. I think Douglas has a chance to be a decent slot receiver, but he has shown no consistency to date. Booty has had the most pleasant surprise of anybody so far this year, but his consistency is, up and down like everybody else. And who am I missing that's playing today besides that?
Pokey. Huh. There you go.
Yeah. Yeah, it's they're clearly crying for an alpha wide receiver.
I know.
So an alpha wide receiver in free agency plus a very high draft pick, and I would think then that the other receivers, if let's say they all come back, are slotted to maybe where they deserve to be. But without any alpha right now, I think you're asking them to do things that they're just not. It's not the right fit.
Also, am I weird to say I don't really want you to draft another high one because you haven't proved to me that you can draft one and develop one? So I would almost want you to get your 1 and then your 1B from like somewhere on the market. Just because I have not seen you be able to draft and develop one or draft one that actually just pans out.
So I'm going to put you on the spot, Tamara. The Patriots wind up the 2024 season with the 3rd overall pick in the draft, as they did last year.
Mm-hmm.
Number 1 in one way, shape, or form are the Vegas Raiders. Number 2 in one way, shape, or form are the New York Football Giants. One of them takes Sanders, the quarterback at Colorado, 1. The other one takes Cam Ward of Miami, number 2. Staring you in the face is the Heisman Trophy winner, 170-pound Travis Hunter. What do you do?
Cornerback, part-time receiver.
Protect my quarterback?
Even though that offensive lineman, and you probably haven't done your grades yet, Deuce.
No, I'm going Abdul Carter. Yeah, Penn State. That's where I'm at right now.
I gotta protect
at 3.
I gotta protect my quarterback.
Yep. I would do. Would you do Micah Parsons at 3? I would do. I think that's the energy he brings to a defense. I think right now, and and I'm just dabbling in it right now.
I'd make the call.
I've looked at a lot of these guys, and that's my feeling right now. This defense is wretched. You want to stare at the wide receiver position all you want. You can't manufacture a guy to be there. And you can talk about Travis Hunter, but he might be a cornerback. So, that's...
Is he the most explosive player in college football?
And that's intriguing to me. And
so
if he was a full-time
says,
receiver and we're talking about full-time receiver, I'd be a little bit more...
Can you make him a full-time receiver with that kind of talent?
Perhaps.
And so I guess my point is...
Do you want that project, though?
Well, here's what I want to say to Tamara is when Tamara goes, and I get it, their track record is not very good in developing wide receivers. The streets are littered with Tyquan Thorntons and people like that. But this is is this guy a generational player? He's the Heisman Trophy winner. Can you not screw him up if you just put him outside and he's your wide receiver and he's the focus point? That seems like that would be one that might be foolproof. That's all I'm saying. He's not Marvin Harrison because I don't think he's the route runner and the tactician maybe that Marvin Harrison and great genes with Marvin Harrison. But this guy Hunter is a generational kind of a talent.
He is, but I think when I look at the market for the offensive line, I just don't think the Patriots are going to have that elite player available that they can pay, especially because they are need to pay for that wide receiver 1. I need a really good offensive line for Drake May for next year. I can't have half of the offensive line that you pick up in the offseason cut midway through the year because they didn't work out. Right. I need an elite player, not a Walmart brand offensive lineman. I need a really, really good player. So I think if it was me with the 3rd overall pick, I'd be picking something that can protect Drake May.
Mike, I'm going to ask to repeat. So you're telling me there's a guy at 3. If you're at 3, there's an offensive lineman that's worthy of that pick that you would make at 3 and bypass Hunter.
No, I don't think there is. I mean, I think most of the rankings right now, if you're going to pull Tamara's plan, would be trade down a little bit and take that would be the ideal. I think right at that point.
And
it
if
might be
Hunter's
a little higher
there,
for
maybe you could generate some interest.
I'm not gonna poo-poo Hunter. I'm not gonna say no. I don't want that. He's too talented. I just say when I look at what I've seen from this Abdul Carter kid from Penn State, is I see a guy who is electric coming off the edge and who moves special. And I know what the needs are, but sometimes you got to pick what's there. So if you ask me right now what I would do, I would take a guy who's going to instantly transform your pass rush and bring some serious juice off the edge to your defense.
Okay, so is there a way to trade down and get 2 of these, or is that impossible?
Well, you're looking for multiple picks if you're trading down, so you better be getting it.
But that's,
so
I
you
think
get 2 good ones.
I think that's the question, though, with the 2 quarterbacks you mentioned, Matt. If they go off the board and the Patriots are sitting at 3, is there still somebody? Is someone going to trade up for Travis Hunter,
Right.
or Tech McMillan? I don't know,
Okay, so
Carter.
I actually took, because I'm a literal guy, Mike, I took you literally, and I apologize. To say that I've done no draft prep would be a great exaggeration. When you said Micah Parsons, I actually believed you when you said Micah Parsons. Because there's a theory out there that maybe Dallas and Micah Parsons can't come to terms on a contract, that they've spent their money on CeeDee Lamb, they've spent their money on Dak, and maybe Micah's available.
I mean,
would you trade the number 3 pick for Micah Parsons?
Yep.
Yeah, I think I would.
And he doesn't even hesitate off the top rope.
Yeah, this was my thing that I put on the PU show about 3 weeks ago, and I would absolutely do it. I don't think they would, because I don't think they have any interest in paying him what it's going to cost them to have him. But I would do that in a blink.
I think it just shows, Matt, I think some element of creativity. And, I mean, we could talk about T. Higgins till we're blue in the face. There's going to be a lot of – if he hits the market, there's going to be a lot of guys after T. Higgins.
Yes.
He can't be the end-all, be-all. Our team is not going to make it if we don't get T. Higgins. So those kind of creative moves. Another, thing I'd point out, too, Garrett Bowles was, one of the tackles that you looked at in free agency.
Off the market now.
He's off the market. You see what Denver does. They've got a young quarterback. It's like there's no way they're going to let this guy go. It's hard. It's hard. I mean, everything Tamara said, needing an offensive line, I totally agree. But I think they've got to be creative, like you said. It's not going to be the simple paint by numbers like, all right, well, this guy, T. Higgins, and they need to go outside of the box a little bit, I think, to try to get guys like that. I know Evan Lazar mentioned like a Christian Watson type guy. I don't know if I necessarily agree with that, but he's a guy that's coming into his last year. He's that's the move. Like you traded with him a year early before he hits the market. Green Bay's always down to kind of re-up their draft picks. Those kind of creative things I think are where they can really make some noise.
T. Higgins light.
Yeah.
Peter in Scotland has kind words for yours truly. Did Fred make a huge mistake when he handpicked Matt after a trip to Duncan 5 years ago to replace the GOAT Hardy? Should we be moving on with Vrabarth being on the market? I don't know what that means. Just joking, Matt. I don't think so, Pete, but that's okay. You're more than entitled to your opinion. Drake made the offense to look good today. Patriots 31, Cardinals 20. I like the pick, Peter. I don't understand his Vrabarth.
Alex Barth, I would assume that's supposed to be.
The bartender?
Yeah. This is another Pats win today. This is from Johnny in Madtown, who writes, I tend not to talk about my successes in life, but today around noon, I graduated from the University of Wisconsin-Madison with a BA in Communications with a certificate in Digital Studies. Deuce, for a guy that wants to get involved in film writing and editing as well as podcasting, how did you get your start? Thanks for always being entertaining, and don't let Paul talk over you. Pats win today, win 1 for Johnny. Says Johnny, congratulations, Johnny, on your accomplishment.
Oh. Well, I mean,
congrats, Johnny.
Congrats, Johnny. That's great. Find a niche somehow. That's how I would say. Whether if you're going to want to be a screenwriter, write. Have people read it, get it, and start a podcast about what you like. Start talking about it. Start developing a voice. I mean, I kind of dabbled. I was in entertainment, and I was starting a Patriots blog on the side and doing podcasts and all that. So, follow your passion, and you gotta do it though. You gotta get the reps. Whatever you're gonna do, I'd say that's my biggest advice. Get on air, talk about stuff, write about stuff, do it over and over and over and over again, and find your niche.
Methinks I've made the masses unhappy. This is Andre from New Jersey. Matt saying that T. Higgins is not a number 1 or Lamb is just okay is absolutely ridiculous.
It is.
Matt, you're nuts, and sign me up for Higgins to the Patriots this upcoming offseason.
Okay, wait, Matt, I have one more question because we're still on this topic, and I forgot to ask you about him.
Great.
What do you think of Davante Adams?
On the downside of his career is in the right situation, I think would be a pretty good player to have on your team. A good receiver, but he's no longer a number one.
So is he a 1B?
I don't think so anymore.
So he's a 2?
I think he's a 2 on a good team.
Okay.
I'd move him to the
another fencing position that I've never seen anybody do other than Tua Tagovailoa.
Who was that? It was
I'm asking
do
because
you
second
think
of
he's a
the
number
year,
one?
by the way.
Yeah. Okay.
On this team, yeah.
Right, but I mean,
But okay, so maybe I would say 1B. But I'm asking you because technically he has not signed a contract with the Jets for next season. That is not done.
Right. So I would assume he's going to get cut, and that whoever comes into New York is going to clean house a little bit with Rodgers, with Adams,
absolutely.
with Lazard.
Would you try to get him plus, like, as your 1B plus another one?
I'd like Adams as a number 2 receiver, and there's somebody like Higgins and Davante Adams on the same team. That's an interesting combination. I'd like that. Again, I don't think T. Higgins is your true number 1. He's not on the team that he's on right now. But him with Adams, that's a decent pairing.
I would rather that than get T. Higgins and then draft a high wide receiver, only because I don't know if you can develop him because you haven't proved me that you can develop one. And also just we have Polk and Baker already that are still on the roster. You need to get them ready.
You know what I want, guys? I want to spend a year here without spending all my time coveting other people's wide receivers. Yeah. That's what I want.
This is the best Mike.
I can't.
When Mike gets
5
upset,
years.
it's the best
5 years. I mean, we've been doing it back to Terrell Owens back in 12 and 13 when he was done. It's just it's the storyline that just annoys me the most. I put it on the Patriots, draft one, develop one. So please help me, so I don't have to spend all year if we only had that guy from the Seahawks, DK Metcalf would be so awesome.
But you can't do that though.
Yeah, they haven't been able to develop one.
No, but you can't say they didn't develop one last year, so you can never draft one again because they haven't had success. You
got to keep going up to the plate. You got to keep swinging.
I'm old enough, as Matt likes to say, to remember when they couldn't draft tight ends, and then they got Rob Gronkowski. They tried and tried and tried, and they had average tight ends that they thought were going to be more than that, and Daniel Graham and Ben Watson, and then they got the arguably the greatest tight end who ever played.
Who's the last wide receiver they developed?
I don't care. I don't so. Who was the last quarterback they developed before Drake May? Tom Brady. So should they have not drafted Drake May because they hadn't drafted a quarterback since 2000 that panned out?
Did they develop Garoppolo?
You have to try. You have to try, is all I would say. I think that Tamara's 1,000% right that they failed with numerous second-round draft picks, in wide receivers, in N'Keal Harry's case, a first-round pick. But you can't just say, well, I can't do it. Because you need tight end, and you need wide receivers.
What's newly frustrating to me, I agree with your point, is just that at least in the past where you had Jacoby Myers, all right, well, they don't have a guy with elite talent, but at least this guy has developed into a serviceable NFL player. This year, it's been a battle to get serviceable NFL player out of any of these guys. I mean, the best story of this group is that Kayshon Boutte emerged from training camp double piece to playing every snap. And I'm just saying playing every snap.
Plus, I also think Drake may be able to make these guys better. So maybe the next guy that they draft doesn't have to be, as good immediately because May's going to make him look a little bit better. Maybe. That's putting a lot on. That's putting a lot on Drake May. Yeah. I agree, but
and Tamara made that point about Polk, which is what I thought too. These guys are young. They you could just feel the desire for them to work together. They both want it to work out. They know they're here in the same year. I mean, they had the little throwing sessions after practices. You can see that they want it, but there's been a disconnect this year where I didn't even feel in years past where, like I said, at least guys like Jacoby Myers would, all right, well, he's getting it. It's not, look, he's never going to be Davante Adams, but at the same time, have you seen that kind of development and that consistency from any of these guys? No, you hear a lot of my thing the last couple of weeks. My bad. No, that was my bad. I didn't run quite to the sticks. No, that was my bad. I didn't quite get the play call.
Miscommunication.
Enough with the my bads.
Cranky deuce.
I know. Enough with the my bads. That's the stuff that I assume you're not hearing from elite teams that win at the end of the season and start to play their best football. There's not a lot of, I just didn't get the call on that one. Well, okay, that was, the game to go to the Super Bowl was on the line. You just didn't get that. That doesn't happen.
Spee in Fresno has an interesting question about one of our great sponsors. I know we've got a big game coming up, but Patty's already drinking, and apropos of nothing, I'm really curious what kind of donuts are in the foregrounded Dunkin' box. Please open the lid to reveal them and take a bite if you like. Thank you, Tamara.
Tamara's doing the
Let's
Price
have
is
a
Right.
donut party here. Go, Pat. Looks like we got a little what?
We got a
Sprinkle?
cruller. We got a cruller. We got a strawberry frosted. Ooh, we got a butternut butter crunch maybe.
Couple frosted.
We got a maybe that's a lemon powdered perhaps. Yeah, they look good.
Which ones have been eaten?
Oh, that's sweet. We don't know. No.
Nicely done there, Tamara.
There's double chocolate frosted that may or may not have been eaten.
Let's
Get
go
that
back to the
product placement
phones.
right.
Make sure you put that back together right.
There you go.
855-PATS-500 is the number. Kendall has been waiting patiently on the line. Kendall, good afternoon. You're with us now on the Patriots Pregame Social, fueled by Dunkin'. The aforementioned Dunkin', by the by. Hi, Kendall.
Kendall.
Kendall?
Come on, guy.
Going once, going twice. We'll say goodbye to Kendall. Call back if you would. Dan in Colorado is next up on the Patriots Pregame Social, fueled by Dunkin'. Hi, Dan. What do we got? We got Bugs, Moreau?
Mike, should you do it? Dan! That's what Fred does. Dan! Like he's not listening.
All right. And to round things out, let's try Justin in Virginia. Justin is next on the Patriots Pregame Social, fueled by Dunkin'. What does blue mean, by the way, on the call screen?
You got to know when to go.
Let's hit it again.
You just push away from the table.
Justin, are you there?
Blue means you didn't hang up on
Can
the
you hear
previous
me?
caller, and you
Okay.
put the next one on hold.
Thank you. Good.
Can you
yeah.
hear me?
Hey,
I can
Justin.
hear you, Justin. Thank you.
We got you.
Awesome. Hey, so to piggyback off you guys' wide receiver conversation, like,
Oh, God.
what I really want them to do is just to get the layup. Because, like, coming up on our second pick, I remember thinking, like, get Ladd McConkey. For the love of God, just get Ladd McConkey. Then they suddenly trade down, and I'm like, oh, God, what the hell are we doing? Then it's like another continuation of, like, the George Pickens, Tyquan Thornton, DK Metcalf, N'Keal Harry, Keenan Allen, Aaron Dobson. Like, they got to stop this pattern of, like, there's an obvious guy right there on the board to go try to get. Then they, like, trade down and they get a guy you probably shouldn't get.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's a fair point.
Excellent point.
I'm not
there,
a big
Justin.
I'm not a
Excellent
big proponent
point.
of trading down. You know, under the premise of, well, there's a group of guys there I can get. They're the same. Like, identify the one that you like and get them.
I got a
You
good.
know?
I
I
got a
like
good.
that.
I got a good tidbit for you, actually, Paul.
Tidbit?
It's something I dug up. That
I
I
do
think,
too,
I
but
think
I
you
can't
can
share it on the
use.
air.
So no, we don't need to hear you about your tidbit.
All right.
Just real quick. So, Patriots re-signed a lot of guys, and I remember me the last couple of years being like, they need to establish a new core. Do you know they have the 8th most guys under contract for next year in the league? So they have 43 guys. It's I think the highest is like 49. So they have a lot.
That is a good tidbit.
They have
Now,
a lot
really
of
good
What
guys.
do you
tidbit.
think? What do you think of it? Good or bad?
I think it's bad.
I
not
couldn't,
great.
couldn't agree
I
more.
think it's bad.
Not great.
I know. No, and that's why I'm kind of calling myself out a little bit of talking about reestablishing that
I'm not
that
calling
core.
you out yet.
And certainly there are a number of players that are easily can get cut, but at the same time it's you got a lot of guys already on the roster that you've added and not a lot of firm answers, and I think that's the hard part.
Okay, this is Spee with another email who's chiming in.
Touchback.
This guy just fumbled it.
Paul's got a touchback.
This Bengals guy just fumbled the ball like walking into the end
That's
zone.
a
Oh my
Jets
God,
job.
he fumbled it out of
That's a
the
Jets
end zone.
job. Anyway,
Jets job. What does that mean?
what was the guy who on the end around scored for the Jets and he started to celebrate before the end line and they called it back?
Yeah, to me that's the Deshaun
Watson. Oh yeah,
Jackson.
Yeah, Deshaun Jackson.
Is that his name?
Yeah.
Spee writes,
Why am I?
No, I thought this thing. I had a brain fart for a second there too. You're right.
proneness to soft tissue injury plus declining production doth not a number one make. Matt is right. Additionally, Matt is an underrated host. He's improved as an assertive contributor by moving away from the interviewer style of hosting, and just wait until you hear him read my donut email. So we had to get the gratuitous plug in there. That's all right. I like it. I can live with that. More wide receiver talk. So the thing about them drafting a wide receiver is that with the exception of Thornton, they just keep drafting the same guy. They continue to get guys with the exact same skill set, and it never works out. Then they go and get the same guy again. That's L from Wisconsin. Paul, do you agree with that? They're going after the same guy?
I don't. I think they've had. I think N'Keal Harry is much different than the guys that like Jalen Polk. I mean, Jalen Polk is half the size of like in terms of,
yeah,
thickness. Let's put it that way.
CK.
I mean, they might be similar heights and weights, but N'Keal Harry was N'Keal Harry looks like a tight end.
Right. Yeah.
I don't think that
He's actually is
I
a
don't think
tight
they're
end
all
now.
the same. Is he really?
Well, I think they tried him there a little bit.
Oh.
Paul, you were doing one of your other shows, and
I was disappointed about Cole Strange, but go ahead.
This hypothetical came up that I addressed with Tamara. If you, the Patriots, are sitting at 3, and the Giants and or Raiders do some sort of combination of Sanders 1, Ward 2, and you're sitting there at 3, do you take Travis Hunter?
I would, yeah. But I also need to know more about the draft in general.
Well, this is December 15th.
Yeah, you're married to it now.
But I don't know,
Good one, Mike.
I think he's an amazing player, and I would absolutely take him. But if you're telling me that there's an edge rusher or a cornerback or a wide receiver or whatever the position is that's as good as he is, then I would take the other guy. Now, I think that Travis Hunter is a tremendous cornerback. I think he can play wide receiver. But I mean, I haven't done all the research that it takes for this. I'm not qualified to make the actual pick. I just think that they're in a enviable spot where they can take literally any position but quarterback and be fine.
The other thing that feeds into it, and we've been talking about this a little bit on PU, is that it's a strong class for cornerbacks. So if you go and you spend some money on one of these guys in free agency, to me, it kind of might.
You can load up on corner in the draft?
It might take Travis Hunter as cornerback. It pumps him down the list a little bit. Right now, if they went through free agency, didn't address cornerback, there's some appeal to me of saying, all right, he's really good. They need talent. They need an electric player. They need somebody who's going to put butts in seats, and that's what he is. But I do think that free agency could maybe have an effect on that if they went out and spent some money on a guy to put across from Gonzalez.
Good point. 855-PATS-500. Host error whiffed on Dan in Colorado. Let's see if we can right a wrong. Dan, you're next on the Patriots Pregame Social Fuel by Duncan. Good afternoon, sir.
Hey, guys. And that was my fault before. That was not the host error.
Thank you.
All right.
Customer's always right, Dan. It was my fault.
Agree to disagree.
So it's tough to not watch games this time of year and just remember Patriots teams of years past where this time of year the offense is just cooking. They're cruising. These teams they would play in late in the season are just sacrificial lambs before the playoffs. And I know that's not this team this year, but what I'd like to see in common with that is just I want to see the consistency. I would like to see this team do its own version of cruising. I would like if it's made a Hunter Henry, I want to see that. I want to see that work out really well today. I want to see Drake May, in the pocket, making the right reads. I want to see the consistency. I want to see them cruising as much as they can cruise this time of year, if that makes sense to you guys.
Yeah.
It does, and thanks for your persistence and sticking with it, Dan. I do think that makes sense. And you know what, Mike, I'm going to direct this one with you because I don't know that Paul would share my feeling on this. But Dan hinted on something there as he's talking about watching the games. I think I'm over these 4-13, 3-14 kind of years that are going on now. Like, I remember, I'm old enough to remember Decembers where we were looking at playoff positioning and what the other team's schedules are coming now none of that is. We're talking about, can we get a first round potential bust into the lineup to see if he can play center? Those are the things we're talking about now. And it just reminds me, man, were we spoiled for such a long time. This is what the rest of the league's going through. Can they get their first round potential bust to change positions and find some place to utilize him because you spent some decent capital on him? It's a different world we're living in now, isn't it?
Thank God for Drake May. If we didn't have Drake May, it would be
right. And because we would be talking about draft positioning and all that stuff if you didn't think you had the guy. Yeah. So yeah, it does change it from last year. It makes it a lot more palatable than last year.
It does. I said to Paul, and Evan, we were walking over to one of the press conferences this week, and I was just like, man, it's just I can't remember the last time watching like a big game, like a real like legit like good team versus good team. There's some kind of ramifications to the game. It's there's been a lot of let's just try to put it together this week, see if we can get some guys playing right, and it's been a lot of that. It's tough.
You're getting a little philosophical on me, so I'll go in this direction. I don't think anybody here knew what to expect when the season started. They go to Cincinnati, and clearly by the base of the rest of their work, they overperformed or outperformed to the mean in the Cincinnati game. Where has it gone wrong? And it's in a lot of different places that it has gone wrong since the Bengals game, hasn't it?
Yeah, just haven't been able to get consistent. I think that's the bottom line, really. I mean, there's obviously plenty of elements and specifics that you can get into, but they just haven't been able to eliminate the bad football and play their best football when the game is on the line consistently enough.
Not sexy, but it's the truth. Amber in Arizona is going to the game today. It's my birthday, and I'm attending the Patriots Cardinals game today. And in caps,
go Amber.
Give me a little Pointer Sisters here, Paul, if you would. I'm so excited
and
to
I just
watch
can't
Drake
hide
May.
it.
As someone from Arizona who did some work with the Cards, I'm getting a lot of shade from my family and friends, and they are all in Cardinals gear, but I am proudly representing in my Patriots jersey. I'm also hoping they give me a May jersey for my birthday. So excited for hopefully a great game and a good performance from Drake May. Always looking forward to hearing your takes. Thanks for being a great listen. That's Amber in Arizona. Have a great time at the game today. Have we determined, or not we, have they determined roof or no roof? We open or close today?
I believe Mike Reese speculated it would be open.
Okay.
Nice weather. Yeah.
Open according to Matt Morrell.
You guys might know this as two gentlemen who have had the privilege to go to Super Bowls in Arizona. Was the
Closed.
open for the both of them? Closed for
Closed.
both? Yes.
Right, Paul?
Couldn't tell you.
You were
Closed.
He was focused on the field. He wasn't looking up at the ceiling.
I just like it's beautiful there, so like the weather's not an issue. So
who cares?
Yeah, I think it was the same whether it was open or closed. I didn't think it mattered.
You know what always stood out to me?
I vaguely remember it being open in pregame, like because you're there for like. Mike, you wouldn't understand this.
I have no concept of
but
it.
you're there for like 12 hours. 6
They
hours.
let anybody into these Super Bowls, I guess.
And
it's 12 when Sam and Lee are with you, by the way.
Do you remember, Matt, that they were open a lot of times, like at some point when we arrive and then they close it?
No, I don't remember that. It just seems like
I think Bill was pissy about it at one of the Super Bowls, maybe in Houston.
Yeah. No, it might have been the last
Atlanta.
one, I thought.
It was
Atlanta.
And they were like, well, they're going to wait, and then there's going to be a delay.
And
what does that mean?
he was all pissy about it.
Yeah.
I mean, it was a day that ended in day, so Bill was pissy.
Here's a good one as people are listening.
There we go, guys. Pulled it up. Dan Roach, thanks for using his tweet.
Well, Matt Morrell minutes ago had already confirmed that the roof is
on fire.
Yeah,
the roof.
That too.
Roof.
This is Alexander who's writing. I know it's a pregame show, but I had to write in with the Hunter conversation. The Pats can't draft a corner at 3, especially a 170-pound one. If they go defense, it's Carter, but I would say protect would maybe take Campbell or Banks. If you want a receiver, it has to be Tet. Question, do you see with Mayo apparently coaching for his job a bigger role in the defense down the stretch? And I would argue your premise, Alexander, that Gerard Mayo is coaching for his job. While things are always subject to change, meaning if the last 4 weeks, and I'm sure this is a topic that you guys spend a great deal of time about during the week, but if the next 4 games are 40-0, 40-0, 40-0, and 40-0, my guess is ownership would reevaluate their position on bringing Mayo back.
Wow,
Short of that, I don't think that Gerard Mayo is coaching for his job, but I digress. Paul, am I whistling past the grave there?
I honestly don't know. I don't think he's going anywhere, but I don't have that information. Travis Hunter is listed anyway at 185 pounds. He gets smaller. Every time someone that doesn't want to draft him, he gets smaller.
Yeah.
I don't know why you can't be an elite player and just, like, be elite. Why everybody has to, like, pick. If you don't want a cornerback, I totally understand that. You have Christian Gonzalez. You just used a first-round pick on a cornerback 2 years ago. That's a very solid rebuttal of taking Travis Hunter. I also think someone mentioned, I think Tamara mentioned, that he might be worthy of someone wanting to move up. Now, I don't know what you're going to get for the move up for a cornerback. I don't think that's going to be as valuable as it is when you get that, the quarterback that becomes available for a quarterback needy team. But if you don't want to take Travis Hunter, I totally get it. I'm not completely sold. I told you, I don't have all the information on these guys. And if there's an edge rusher, Mike, I know you're big on the edge rushers. I'm with you.
Yeah.
They badly need pass rush. So if there's one of those guys that's as good as Travis Hunter, take the edge guy. But let's not kill Travis Hunter because he's 185 pounds. Like, this whole thing that he's too small, 6'1", 185, is not too small.
Yeah, I would feel the size does worry me a little bit, Paul. I've told you that before, but the size worries me less at 3 than it does at 1. That's all.
I can't make an argument for that. That's right out of the Fred Kirsch manual right there.
And
what is the difference between 1 and 3?
A big difference.
What? What is it?
And he is an elite player. He's an elite player. No question about it, right, Hunter?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. I mean, he's souped up. That's really like, I just want to come out of the draft with somebody who's got some juice and can affect the games, and that's why I would never rule out Travis Hunter. I mean, I think a lot about when we go out to training camp. I mean, he would be a draw, no question. So I wouldn't rule any of this out. Patriots need talent. I just think you're not in the business of, no, we don't need that talented guy. Like, we got, like,
right.
They need just about anything. So wait, one quick
warm-ups.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say.
Dirty pants again?
So dirty pants for Paul, but you know what's freaking me out a little bit, guys, is I don't know why they're wearing the blue jerseys here in Arizona, but I would venture to guess that the last time they wore the blue jerseys, unless they did it in the 2016 opener, would have to go back to Super Bowl 42 when they took on the Giants in their white uniforms. So for anybody who wanted a little unfortunate Super Bowl 42 flashback, you're welcome.
Do we have a ruling on we like the blue and the white here?
I don't like those pants.
Yeah, Paul doesn't like them. I
I'm
like
on
them
an
better
island
than
by
the
myself.
Flu blue. I just want the stripes to match. That's all. I want the bottom to match the top. Not too much to ask.
The uniform issue in Super Bowl 42 was the doing of the head coach in the red.
Well, that's a hoodie conversation, Matt, that
right?
I am qualified to talk about, but I don't know if I'm going to get into that right now.
There's many a tree that died over that.
But, man,
decision,
did everybody freak out when he came out in that red hoodie for that Super
by
Bowl.
everybody, you mean you?
Well, my online, community, I'd call it, the hoodie community.
My online community.
The people that support my
you and your George Pickens haters.
my former hoodie tracking. We like coaches who have obscure garments, but we don't care for players who are prone to a little craziness now and then.
You know who's pretty good at football?
Who dat?
Malik Neighbors.
Oh, geez.
Pretty good player on a
is.
very bad team.
Just to help clear things up for me on Pickens, they drafted Thornton instead of Pickens, correct?
Correct.
Yes.
As well as instead of Alec Pierce and Sky Moore. Now, Sky Moore has been pedestrian at best with the Chiefs, so which tells me that he's not even, what would he be with the Patriots if he was that bad with the Chiefs?
Okay. With regards, is Patriots owner Robert Kraft making a little appearance in the pregame social. As you look at the Chiefs, somebody asked about wide receiver cores and how would you grade the Patriots wide receiver core. When you look at the Chiefs receiving core, do they have an alpha on that receiving core?
Not currently, no. But
right. How's the kid that they drafted?
Their alpha is hurt.
Who?
Rasheed Rice.
Yeah.
Okay. What about the kid that they drafted, Worthy? Pretty good player.
Fast.
He's really fast. Gadget player.
Gadget guy? That's it? Okay.
So far, I mean, he could turn into something great.
Hopkins, good veteran.
Hopkins, on the backside.
On the backside.
Yeah, I put him with Adams. You can keep them.
Yeah.
Okay. So is it the generational quarterback that's making those guys, and it's why.
Well, that's why they don't have an offense.
Yeah.
Right.
You just explain why they can't score.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't think they've cracked 30 either. We talked about the Patriots having cracked 30 since mid-2022.
Right.
I don't think you have to go quite that far back for the Chiefs, but they haven't cracked it this year. And
Okay.
of course, Paul, it seems like this is the
James.
Yeah, this is the week.
Winston throws an
This is the
interception.
week
Can you believe that?
I finally laid the points with the Chiefs, and this is the week that they're gonna screw.
That's at least 3, I think, for Jameis, by the way.
Bridgestone is the official tire of the New England Patriots, and they're proud to partner with Sullivan Tire, New England's headquarters for quality Bridgestone tires. Visit sullivantire.com to find a location near you. You're talking about picks. We might as well get to them. Let's go over-unders, please, Matt.
It's time for this week's edition of Over-Unders.
Okay, Johnny Stats, let me just get a little read in here first, if you don't mind. Where's my DraftKings read, Young Morel? Here it is. Patriots Pregame Show is brought to you by DraftKings. Stay tuned because you'll hear more about DraftKings and all it has to offer throughout the show. DraftKings, the crown is yours. And with that, we've got DraftKings numbers. Paul, why don't you go through the standings, please, sir?
All right, last week, Paul was 5-1, Mike was 4-2, No Sox 2-4. So for the season, Paul 51-27, Matt 45 and 33. Mike, 43 and 35.
Is it time for you to go into a four corners offense, Paul?
Yeah, there's pretty much nothing I can do to lose that lead now.
Right. Okay, we will begin at the beginning with Drake May passing yards at 216.5. Mike.
I like that one. I'm going to go over on that one. I got Drake coming out, firing here after the bye.
I'll concur with you. Over.
Yeah, I'm going to take the over as well. I think the Patriots may be playing some catch-up.
Okay. Next, if we're going to do with Drake May's passing yards, next would make sense that we're going to do Kyle Murray's passing yards. He's 10 yards more so on the number. Is Murray at 226.5? Paul.
I am going to take the under on 226.5. I think they're going to be running the ball.
Because you think the Terminator is going to chew up some yards? James Garner.
Well, I think he could run too. Kyler Murray.
Okay.
Technically, that's John Connor, and he is not a Terminator. He is the resistance leader, just so we get our facts straight.
Okay.
I'm going under on the passing stats.
He's such a geek.
You're
going under?
Under, please.
3 for 3, and I like it. It sounds better with James Garner. But in any event, Hunter Henry receiving yards at 43.5, Mike.
You skipped one.
Oh, don't forget
I'll
Drake.
get back to that. Don't worry about it. I was just making sure you're paying attention.
Oh, he's testing you, Paulie. Yeah, I like Hunter Henry. I think he's the most reliable receiver they got, so I'll go over on that one.
I'll go under.
I'll take the over.
Mr. Leader, okay. There we go. The one that I skipped over, Drake May's longest completion at 32.5. Let me survey the field here. I'm going to go under to kick things off.
I'll follow you up with going under as well. I think they'll keep Drake going short.
Yeah, my streak was broken the last time we did this, so now I will take the under.
I mean, what was the trend? What was
the trend? Was he was throwing one over the yards like 5 weeks in a row, and I just kept riding the trend, and finally he didn't do it.
Okay.
Although we did miss by like 2 yards that day. It was really close.
Okay. These two are pretty well tied together. Total punts at 8.5, Mike.
Geez, I mean, the Patriots defense doesn't force a lot of punts. I'm going to go under on this one.
Chad Ryland will not be punting this week. True or false? I know he punted last week because of injury.
Yeah, I don't believe he's punting.
They have somebody.
They
in
did
place
sign
for
someone. Patriot, Michael Pilardi, I think they signed.
Oh.
Had a cup of coffee.
Remember that?
Eloquently put, Mike. The Patriots don't force a lot of punts. That smells like under to me, unless it's a busy day for the Pro Bowler Brian Behringer. Paul.
Yeah, I'll take the under also.
Okay.
I think they're coming out of the bye. A lot of fourth down pushing of the envelope for the Patriots.
I like it. And last but not least is the total score, which is 46. Paul.
Keep getting them right around my scores. I'm going to take the over.
Yeah, what's 24 plus 27? Yeah, I'm going
over.
I'm going over.
That's your score for today, huh?
Maybe.
Okay.
Stay tuned.
I think I'm going to go under on that as well. Don't ask me why, but I think so.
Not a lot of zip on those over-unders right there.
What do you mean by that?
They're running out of steam here.
Yeah?
I think it's the 425 kickoff.
Nah, come on, we're ready.
Oh.
I will say...
I don't resemble that remark.
I got one more comment here about... I just
you have
always...
more tidbits?
I always recognize the Cardinals Stadium. Just the grass, for some reason to me, it always looks a little neon to me. And I remember in Super Bowl 49, the grass getting all over Brady's jersey. And there's something about that stadium that, good memories, washed out 2007, but 2014 went in there. Like that electric green kind of grass, it just always jumps out to me. That's all. Sorry.
Okay.
That's the sod that Fred initiated the old, they roll it out on and then so it goes out soft and it goes back in
dry
hard.
I think I think I can tell this story now, as probably the statute of limitations is past us by now, Paul. Fred entrusted me, who was on the field, with a case
that's a good story.
Of Patriot Football Weeklies with undefeated or some sort of verbiage of the fact. And obviously that didn't happen after the game. So Knucklehead here took the case of Patriot
Football Weekly.
Patriot
it was a
Football
poster,
Weekly.
undefeated poster.
Right.
It was like
Yeah.
perfection. I
Right.
think we had.
So I took the case of those covers and threw them in the garbage, and was walking out of the field. And Paul, they had like a tent with the post game.
Yeah.
And you were hugging with Mike Vrabel. You were hugging with Junior Seau. Andy was hugging.
That
with
was
Vrabel.
the party. That was the post game party at the hotel.
Andy was hugging with Seau, and all of a sudden Fred goes. I don't know if Fred said it or I said it. I think I had a sense of regret, and I went, "Uh-oh, where are the undefeated posters?" And I said, "I threw them in a barrel." I traipsed back in. They were in the barrel where I left them and brought them back. I gave them to Andy and said, "You deal with them."
Did you start to break out a little sweat there? I imagine as soon as it occurred to you,
I
you were like,
I gave you more credit. I actually have told that story many times, and it was you holding that box. You threw it in a trash barrel, took about 10 steps, stopped.
I was in the post. No, I was in the post game.
You went to like a
thought
party.
to yourself,
go back out.
I'm going to go back. So, and you went back and got them. That's how
Wow.
I think that's how I always understood that story. Like
Yeah.
you had sort of made the realization, like, yeah, I probably should go and get those.
Yes.
And then we brought them back to the hotel.
Yes. Yeah, the people then were crying over them.
You weren't there in 2004 when Willie had the Dynasty cover.
I was
were you?
there.
Oh, you were.
I
all right.
wasn't handing out.
Oh, that you weren't.
Yeah,
the guy.
I was handing them out for Seattle. Where was the other? Houston, and Atlanta.
See, I love that you guys talk about these Super Bowls and it's where they were, not who they were playing, and that shows you guys were there and
we
that
played,
they were letting anybody into these things.
You know, we played the Eagles twice. We played the Rams twice. You got to be more more specific, Mike.
Excellent point. Interesting email here from Tim in Truck E, whatever that is. It's when I lean on the. By the way, it's when I lean on the microphone bar, Matt. Just FYI, I haven't touched the button all day. Just a little.
Don't lean on the bar.
It's very sensitive.
Good point.
I got people texting me about it.
Timothy writes, Tamara made a great point that the New England Patriots have no ability to develop wide receiver offensive line positions. Well stated. Is that true about offensive line? But I digress. Bring
It's
Logan
not
Mankins
true
in
about the offensive
to
line.
coach the line and a Wes Welker-like person to coach the wide receivers. I bet Julian Edelman's dad could do better than their existing coach. Coaching is a massive problem. Go Patriots. They win today 14-13, says Tim from Truck E. They can develop offensive linemen, can't they?
They've done a good job of that over the years. They've taken a lot of guys. I mean, do you have to like talk about Stephen Neal? Like they've taken a lot of guys that didn't have much pedigree, and you know, David Andrews was an undrafted guy. They've gotten a lot of quality play out of a variety of different draft picks. You know, like they could be early picks, they can be late picks. Yeah, they've missed. You know, Isaiah Wynn, it was a miss.
Right.
You know, he wasn't worthy of a first-round pick, but they've had a lot of, you know, Michael Wenhu's sixth-round pick. That's not drafting and developing a guy?
Right.
Yeah.
I mean,
I think they
wide receiver, hard to argue.
I'd like a resurgence
Across
of
the
that.
board.
I'd like to feel a resurgence on the offensive line development. I think they need it. I would have hoped it had been developed better this year, given the guys that they had when they finally got some continuity. I know there was a talent deficit there, but I've been a little disappointed with on Wenhu's season, and hoping that.
Now that was a beautiful pass.
Yeah.
Rogers just hit Devontae Adams.
That was Tamara's Devontae Adams.
That was as well thrown a ball as you can get.
Back from the dead.
Yeah.
What
preceded
I
that,
agree.
by the way, was Patrick Mahomes.
They left Mac Jones too much
limping
time
off the field.
Too much time for Mac.
I gave you Patrick Mahomes got what? Carted off the field?
Limping off the field.
He's always limping.
No, legitimately with two guys helping him off.
Was
the
his
field.
head cocked to one side?
Yes.
That's
and was he telling everybody to huddle up? The offensive line point, Mike, that you were making is true, and maybe getting back toward what the emailers maybe more talking about than developing over the years is maybe Dante Scarnecchia deserves even more credit. I mean, I don't know if he could get any more credit. He's basically regarded as the greatest assistant around, but he was probably more responsible for all of those guys than it was anything else. Yeah. And they don't have that anymore.
Yep. Who's disgracing Gronkowski by wearing 87 today? This is the
that
new
would
call-up?
be yes, that's a call-up. Jack Westover, who's a rookie, second call-up, tight end. Probably play mostly special teams, but I don't know. I do think it's interesting. I think it's another example of them giving a young guy, our opportunity. Probably not much on offense, if at all, but getting an opportunity. Young guy.
Preston couldn't have found a different number.
Yeah, 87. That stayed in the mix, man. Had it stayed in the mix.
Don't love it. Don't love it. All right, let's
It's hard
hit
in football, though. You don't have an endless
I know,
amount.
no question about it. Let's hit the Sunday six-pack, please, Matt.
This is the Sunday six-pack, so kick back and listen to my position. I'm itching to get the picks back. You better bring a big stack. Get it mixed, Jack. I came to win it, yeah, this is the Sunday six-pack.
Okay, Johnny Stats, looks like we've got somebody coming hard from the outside.
What?
Here.
All
Yep.
right.
Hey now.
Settle
Deuce.
down.
Look at me.
Yeah, Mike was 5-1. Paul and No Socks were 3-3. So Mike has the lead at 38, 38, and 2. You are perfectly adequate in your adequacity.
Yes. Made it.
I am 37, 39, and 2, and Matt is 35, 41, and 2.
Yeah.
Dominant.
Okay.
Dominant? No, it's not
So,
dominant.
Matt Morrell, the yellow Post-it is the lines, correct?
Correct, because I may have got the math right this week, but I forgot to type it out.
Okay. Not a problem. Let's start with none of the 1 o'clock games because they're already going on. It wouldn't be fair to pick those games, would it, Paul?
I would probably still find a way to get one wrong.
Same here.
Although
See,
they're-
look, taping Mahomes.
They're not over.
Another ankle. All right.
It's called an in-game bet.
The
Window
opening.
Open.
The 4 o'clock games, we're going to kick things off in Denver, where the 8-5 Broncos take on that horrific Indianapolis Colts team that beat the Patriots at 6-7. Denver is a 4.5-point favorite, Paul.
I will take the points. I don't think the Colts will win the game, but I will take 4.5.
Michael.
I will lay the points. I think playing in Denver will be hard for them, and they will lose by more than 4 points.
I will follow the hot one, Mr. Dussault, and I agree. I like Denver will lay the points in that one. The Super Bowl preview that's coming up, the 10-3 Buffalo Bills go to Detroit to take on Paul's darlings. Paul's been consistent. I give him credit. He's liked them right out of the chute, the 12-1 Lions, where Detroit is a 2.5-point favorite against the Bills, who suddenly don't have a lock on the number 2 seed. Michael.
Yeah, I'm gonna stick with Detroit at home. I'm keeping one eye on this game though today for sure.
Yeah, I'm taking Detroit as well. Just Mike, to give an addendum on Matt's irrelevance for all the talent in the league. He also doesn't think a whole lot of Buffalo or Detroit.
Oh. No, I disagree. I think a lot about Buffalo. I'm now getting more on the Buffalo. We saved that topic for the Buffalo finale. But you know what, Paul, it's only taken me 6 or 7 years, but I think Josh Allen's pretty good.
I don't think you've ever really spoken disparagingly about Josh Allen, but you think Buffalo's meh.
And
you
just
think Detroit's meh.
Just to prove you wrong, I'm going to go and take the points with the Bills because I think this is a hugely important game for Buffalo, and I think Detroit can afford to let this one go. How about them apples?
Making his move.
Also at 4 o'clock, the 7-6 Tampa Bay Buccaneers go to Los Angeles to take on Harbaugh and the Chargers, who are 8-5. Paul.
I'm going to take the lack at home. Generally, the visiting team in LA has a lot of fans. I don't know if Tampa would.
You don't think they travel?
I don't know if they would qualify.
By the way, if you live in Tampa,
you wouldn't
you're
have
not
to,
going to California.
Right, and you don't exactly, and you don't have to be like a
weather watcher.
Yeah, in the winter. Oh, I'm gonna winter out in L.A.
Right.
No, like
you're fine in Tampa.
You're in Tampa.
Right.
So I'm gonna take the Chargers.
It's a 3-point spread in that game. That means the Chargers are giving 3. Michael.
Yeah, give me that lack. I'll take them.
I'm with the lack. Lastly, at 4 o'clock, it's the other Super Bowl preview that people are talking about. The Battle of the State of Pennsylvania, where the 10-3 Steelers travel to Philly to take on the 11-2 Eagles, where dissension is running rampant with the Eagles and A.J. Brown and Jalen Hurts. Michael.
So they had like a video with like that's what
they showed
that's what friends are for, and they're kind of like, see, when we're all happy and nice to each other, we do good, guys.
Right.
I'm gonna take Pittsburgh, but I think Philly will win. But I like the points.
Spreads 5.5. I should point these spreads out. Thank you for providing them, Matt.
Yes.
5.5 point line. The Steelers against the Eagles. Paul.
I was just laughing, looking.
It's a good bag.
I'm reading on.
That's Don Maxon. Oh no, that is it. What's
Red
that Maxon?
Zone. As a Giants fan with a paper bag on his head, it says "We suck." 2-11. I'm with
That's
Mike.
a good one.
I'm lockstep with Mike. I'm going to take the points. I think the Eagles will find a way to win it, but I'm concerned about that dissension. And I know Mike would take A.J. Brown on his team, but he seems like a bit of a wacko to me as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to go. So "We Are Family" was a song for the Pirates, not the Steelers back in the day.
Oh.
I'm going to believe
Mahomes out of the game, by the way.
I'm going to believe "We Are Family" in the Philadelphia Eagles. I need to do something to make up my terrible record, so I'll go with the Eagles laying the 5.5. Give me the band on. Is that Sister Sledge? 5.5?
Sister Sledge.
Yeah.
We Are Family.
That's Paulie's.
I'm going to go Sister Sledge and the Eagles and take the Eagles on that one. Sunday Night Football. At Seattle, where the Seahawks are in first place in the NFC West along with the Lambs. The 8-5 Seahawks are 3-point home dogs against the 9-4 Green Bay Packers. Michael.
Yeah, I like this game. What was the line on this one officially?
3. Green Bay's a 3-point favorite.
3. Yeah, I'm going to take Green Bay. A little bit off the beaten path for me. Usually I go Seahawks at home in close ones, but I like Green Bay. I'm going to take them with a little bit of, I know it's not an upset, but I think it's a little bit of an upset.
Yeah, I'm going to take Green Bay as well. I think Seattle is doing great to be, in the picture and have the lead in that division, but I think Green Bay is better.
3 for 3. 3 people are taking the Pack as the road favorite in that one. And last, but certainly not least, as we've been talking about for a couple of hours now, the 3-10 New England Patriots, losers of 3 straight, go to Arizona to take on the 6-7 Arizona Cardinals, also losers of 3 straight, where Arizona is a whopping 6-point favorite. Michael.
Yeah, I got the Cardinals in this one. I think they need the game more. I need to see something new from the Patriots defense to believe that they're going to be able to hold the Cardinals down under 20, much less 30. But I think they do okay, but I've got the Cardinals win. I'm going to say 24-17.
Paulie?
Yeah, I see a similar kind of game. I think the Patriots would be playing from behind, which is not a good recipe. I think the Cardinals like to get after with blitzes, get after the passer, and I think that's been a problem for Drake May so far. So I'm going to say 27-20 Arizona. They need the game more.
And I'm not a believer in the Arizona Cardinals, but I thought Mr. Urban did a very nice job in painting a picture of where things stand with the home team. And I will sadly concur with you guys and go with the Cards in that game. So is the Chiefs' backup quarterback Carson Wentz?
Looks it.
I just point out, too, Joe Tooney's playing left tackle for the Chiefs right now going against Myles Garrett.
Yeah, he poked him in the eye and knocked him out of the game, I think.
Oh, did he really?
Earlier in the game.
Oh, I didn't see
I
that.
don't know exactly what happened, but Garrett went down, threw his helmet off and was holding his face.
Bold move there.
Paul, I know you're not a... I shouldn't just guess at
You
this.
say he did it on
Poke
purpose.
him in the eye. I'll be out for the game.
What does letting Joe Tooney walk in free agency rank as in either the plus or the minus category on your ledger?
It's a
for
mistake,
the Patriots?
a definite mistake, but I don't
I kind of lament it. I just feel like you had a Hall of Famer in the building and you let him walk, and it also it spurred on all kinds of other things trying to then fix that hole, which ultimately ended up with Cole Strange getting drafted. I mean, it makes me sick. That makes me sick. He's an ideal player. I mean, that's the model. You want to draft a guy, develop him. He's playing left tackle right now. It shows his versatility. He's a Hall of Fame player that you let walk. What more is there to say?
I might quibble with the Hall of Fame tag that you gave him, but he certainly stabilizes an offensive line with his...
No way. He thinks he's a Hall of Famer.
Well, I don't think guys who are in the Hall of Fame are Hall of Famers. Brian Urlacher, guys like that.
He's all right.
Who was the last class that they just a bunch
How
of
many
jabs
times
that
has
they
Tooney
did?
been an All-Pro?
He's never missed a game in his life.
He's a good player, really good player. I just don't know that he's a Hall of Famer.
Well, an All-Pro means you're better than a good player.
Yeah, no, I agree.
Not just like a one-time fluke thing. I think he's multiple
you
All-Pro. Now, I'm not talking Pro Bowl. I'm talking All-Pro, right?
I can check it. Just talk amongst yourselves for one moment.
Who was last year's Hall of Fame class Hall of Fame of good last year, Paul?
I don't know. I couldn't tell you.
Guys like Julius Peppers, good player.
Julius
these guys
Peppers, a great player.
He's a good player.
Oh, he's only a one-time All-Pro, Paul.
Oh, then he's not a lock Hall of Famer then.
What a surprise.
Two-time Pro Bowl. Yeah.
Not a lock Hall of Famer if he's only a one-time Pro Bowl.
He's a really good player.
4-time Super Bowl champ.
That doesn't.
And, when you look at the games he's played, though, going back to his Patriots days, 16, 16, 16, 16, 16, 17, 15, 17, and he's up to 13 this year. So, really, he's missed 2 games in his career.
The word of the day that you used multiple times, Mike, consistency, and Joe Tooney is that in spades. Can we get consistency out of the Patriots today? Can they jump out to a lead? As Paul said, they need to play from ahead. Those are the things we will talk about after the game. The Patriots and the Arizona Cardinals. That'll do it for the Patriots pregame social fueled by Duncan. We'll see you to talk about and analyze after the game.
Thank you for downloading this podcast. Subscribe on Apple, Google Play, and everywhere else you listen. Like the show? Please rate and review us. Listener comments and ratings help keep us high in the podcast rankings so new listeners can find us. Be sure to check Patriots.com for more news and more podcasts.